If my wife and I ever like renew our vows or anything, though, I want that dude exactly how he looks in that video.
I think we should all just stop it with "I want that dude."
Yeah. No.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Danae Hughes.
I'm here.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. It's so sad. We're separated by space again.
Yeah.
And we're not in the same room. How will we ever survive?
If you guys enjoyed our podcast sounding really professional, it's that was just 1 week.
It was just a one-time deal.
It was nice to be in Nashville, though, and be with everybody.
Yeah, talk about that. That was kind of your first time.
I hear that it's nice to be in Nashville, so tell me about that.
Yeah, I really had a great time. You know, anytime you can work remotely with the team and then you have an opportunity to get in the same space, I think even if there's no meetings planned or anything, just to spend time together is really important. And, you know, when you work for yourself or you work kind of in your own space, it can kind of feel isolating and you don't even realize it until you're all together.
Beautiful, beautiful isolation.
I'm right on the cusp of introvert extrovert in a lot of the tests.
You're very balanced, yeah.
But I genuinely love engaging with people, and so I can kind of move back and forth, but I do love having my own space, but I also love being with people. So it's perfect to just kind of go and meet the guys and spend some time together. And I'm going to miss not being as close because that was so fun to just jump in the car and zip over to the house and jump into the studio and like be able to just make eye contact with everybody while they're telling,
Try
stories
not to die
and stuff.
from cats.
Hey, Zyrtec saved my butt. That's for sure.
Nice.
The first day was a little clunky, but Aaron's brain hack totally worked.
Thank you. Well, and I knew your brain was involved because you were sneezing before we got there. Like your brain was already telling you were going to have trouble.
I had been sneezing for 2 days before we left.
Yeah, that's true.
So and it was after our heater really turned on for the first time.
That'll do it. Yeah.
That smell of the last year's worth of
dust,
pet hair, and skin
human
cells.
skin. Yes.
I think I know less people not allergic to cats. That's like become like that seems like a really just full blown allergy for a lot of people. Like.
Well, let's be honest. Most of us just don't like cats, and we use cat allergy as a way to...
That's not true.
No,
I
I'm kidding.
love cats.
I actually do, too. I think they're adorable. It
was so hard not to pet any of the cats that I saw because I wanted, I wanted to make contact with the little adorable fur babies, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I had a
But
really
you're not
good time.
allergic to dogs?
No. But they have cats have a different...
No, they do. My wife is allergic to both. However, if she is around a specific dog, like this is how she could have dogs. If she's around a specific dog for a long period of time, she's fine with that.
Yeah, you can build up a tolerance.
But she cannot build up a tolerance with cats. Like she can't be within like 2 feet of a cat. It's bad.
Oh.
So I mean, unless she takes something like you were doing, but as far as I know, my daughter is not allergic, and I'm not.
I was a little disappointed. So we went to kind of like there's 2 places that the CinemaSins team can kind of gather. One is with the editing group over at Made In, and the other is at the studio at the house. And so I kind of, when you're going over to someone's house, you can't really explore, especially when there's cats there. So if the snack room is at Chris's house, he's guarding it with cats, and I have a battle ahead of me. If the snack room is at Made In, I didn't get a chance to get away long enough to find it. So I didn't find the snack room. Just to update everybody, I did look a little bit.
Well, you haven't sold enough copies of the books yet.
I know. I have a long way to go.
Chris eats pretty healthy, so I would not think there's a snack room at his house. At least not snacks you would want.
Well, it was I was very concerned because the elevator went from floor 1 to floor 11, but there's no. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there's some dimensional things going on.
I'm so sad that you didn't get to see the full Spinal Tap elevator, even though you've probably never seen the movie and wouldn't get some of the references. it was quite an experience.
I actually didn't mind it because the experience of getting on the elevator at Maiden, and what they had done apparently is they had painted all to look very Spinal Tap-y. There was like a TV that played Spinal Tap on loop, and then it was all green or black light, so it kind of glowed, and then the elevator went to
11.
floor 11.
Yeah.
So it's all related to the movie, which I've never seen, so I don't care about. But we got to hear the story about how apparently that wasn't up to code, which made it into a sin that I was writing on something that had to do with the elevator. So that influenced that sin.
What? Why are we concerned about black lights in elevators? Like, I just don't know what a black light in an elevator could cause.
Have you ever heard of the Aerosmith song Love in an Elevator?
Well, that's true. So you're saying they're just trying to prevent things from happening. I got
Black
you
light
now.
is an aphrodisiac, apparently.
Did you know it? Have you guys been to Hollywood Studios in Orlando and ridden the Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster?
Yes, many times.
And they do Love in a Roller Coaster. Like, they change it. Like,
worse.
somehow that makes it better. Like,
It is so much worse.
I know. Like, I guess they're trying to like be like not talk about sex in an elevator, and B, make it more fitting to what you're doing. But yeah, that's way worse. Especially when you're going upside down. Like, how's that function going for you?
Now we're all thinking about it.
Yeah, now we've all got the mental pictures.
It was also really cool. I'm sure you guys have your own stories to share, but it was really cool also joining the guys on Sincast and the mini pod. So that was kind of my first experience of going on to one of their shows, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I had a blast.
I was glad you guys came. We were super busy. We got to go to the movie. That was fun. But then the next 2 days, we were just podcasting and meeting, and
Yep.
we had actual, work to do as well.
Doing work.
Outside of that. So
It was probably
a good time.
Worst timed visit, considering that Barrett and Jonathan were both back from vacation and slammed with work, and then we show up to have 2 days of back-to-back meetings. And
Yeah.
so it was
It's all
really, really poorly planned. So this week it's like everybody has just basically been like under the gun for all the scripts and everything. It's just like a big backup-a-thon going on.
Or were Barrett and I's vacations poorly planned? Maybe that was the problem. Maybe you guys
We weren't going to say it.
I
But
wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it. I'm the new girl. I can't say it.
Stupid kids, and when their fall break is.
Who approved this? Anyway.
You guys ready to get into it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's kick it off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the week's videos, our process of sending them, some thoughts from the behind-the-scenes process, and thoughts on the stuff we're sending in general. We will go through the channels. We'll start with TV Sins, then Music Video Sins, and then CinemaSins. So let's start with the first video on TV Sins last week was Danae's favorite TV show she's ever seen, Riverdale.
Guys, what a pleasure.
Yeah, Danae, tell us about how much you loved Riverdale.
I knew going in it was going to be a little tricky for me because it's CW, and I already have like a little bit of like a little tick.
And let's go ahead and get out there. The CW bingo card, one of the greatest concepts ever invented.
Very much so. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm really glad you worked on this one.
I have some more thoughts on that eventually. But,
we're gonna get to it eventually?
Yeah, but go ahead
Okay.
and tell us about your experience.
So I was a little bit nervous, and rightfully so. First of all, I didn't know until about 15 minutes in this was based on Archie comics, so I had no idea.
Yeah. By the way, I should say this is a Hughes Watkins joint. So Jonathan and Danae wrote on this one.
Which is kind of fun when you realize it, but then at the 15-minute point in the show, there's a lot of really confusing stuff going on. It's like a murder mystery.
Does the
type
Archie
feel.
thing mean anything to this show other than just the character names and the way they look?
No.
I disagree with that to a point. I have some more information on this in my open tabs.
Oh, good.
All right,
good.
cool.
You mean keeping tabs?
Yeah, keeping tabs. God, I said it wrong, and I changed it on my sheet. And then I still said it wrong.
It's good. You're good. I'm just teasing.
Keep going.
I was thinking that there was a chance that I was going to like it. And I think, listen, I hated high school. I hated it.
Yeah.
It was the worst. Middle school, high school, absolute shit show of my life. Hated it.
Yeah.
So going back into one where it's just highlighting the worst parts of it in the pilot, it was just like, I want nothing other than to run away from this. years. And so I think I wasn't having a good time based on my own issues. But then reflecting on it as time has gone on, there are some things I didn't mind about it. I thought that the kids were acting really well, although I don't know that they're really actually kids. I didn't look at their ages, but
I mean, they're early 20s at the oldest, so they're basically kids.
Like the girl who plays the blonde, what's her name? There's Archie.
You're talking about Betty?
Veronica. Betty, I thought Betty was awesome. Like, there's a couple times when she is like emoting some really deep stuff, and I was like, man, she's kind of knocking it out of the park.
By the way, since you mentioned the name, what did clue you into that it was based on Archie comics? Was it the names?
Okay, so first of all, Jughead is narrating kind of at the beginning, and he has like the
little
crown
pointy
thing.
crown thing.
And I thought that's familiar.
That's a weird choice.
and then I was writing down the names as I hear them, because sometimes in scripts that just helps me to remember who is who. And so then when we got to Archie, Betty,
Veronica,
and then we got to Veronica, and something in my head is like, there's something I'm missing here. And so I think I just went to go read a little bit about the show and realized that it was based on the comics.
Okay,
so I had to
enough.
actually look it up before I really
By the way,
understood.
real quick, Betty is played by Lily Reinhart, who actually just gave a pretty good performance in the movie Hustlers.
Oh,
So she is a pretty good, cool, up-and-coming actress. And she was born in 96, so she was probably about 19 or 20 when they filmed this pilot.
Cool.
Just to give you an idea of what age they were.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't connect to it, but upon reflection and a little bit of time away from it, I'm not seething at it as much as I was when I was writing it. So, and I know, Jonathan, you had a different experience than I did.
Well, I watched the show. I like the CW stuff a lot more than you guys do, clearly. I don't know how many great shows they have, or even quote-unquote good shows, but they have really fun shows. We did Vampire Diaries early on in the TV Sins thing, when we started TV Sin, and I was actually listening to something the other day from one of the CW show creators, and they were talking about how Vampire Diaries really kind of set the mode for what would become like the current CW. Like shows like Riverdale are essentially stemmed off from what Vampire Diaries kind of created, with the small town and the murder mysteries and the drama and the mystique and the narration, or what, whatever.
Yeah, they were basically we can find a foundation to put this teenage angst on. Yeah. And do it. And they've done that with their superhero shows. They've done it with everything.
Yeah, I would argue the superhero shows very much fall in that too. And I mean, before Vampire Diaries, at the beginnings of the CW, they were basically bringing over shows that from the merge. So you had stuff like Veronica Mars and Supernatural, stuff that was originally on at UPN or WB, and kind of started forming that. And then I think Vampire Diaries just kind of shifted it into what it is now.
And Supernatural would definitely get a bingo on that bingo card. Like a lot of those, you know, prototypical CW cliches are there, already.
But I really like Supernatural too. But I think the thing with Riverdale, it has kind of almost this like teenage Twin Peaks-esque feel to it, which we even make a point and send the fact that Madchen Amick is on the show because she was in Twin Peaks. And I love murder mysteries just in general. And this first season's murder mystery is a really good one. They do a really good job throughout the entire season of setting it up, and then the resolution of who actually did kill Jason Blossom, which is the drive of the first season, is really interesting. And I don't know, I just think it's a fun show. Danae already brought up the actors. Lily Reinhart's really good. I personally really love Madeline Pesh. She plays Cheryl Blossom, the kind of the queen bee of the high school, I guess. She's really funny and just has kind of almost reminds me of like Rachel McAdams in Mean Girls.
Right.
She kind of has that type of feel to her. And then I don't know. It's very much in that I wouldn't say guilty pleasure, but I don't know, something about these types of shows always kind of appeal to me. Like I'm watching Nancy Drew, which is like kind of the new Riverdale-esque show they have on, and enjoying that as well. So
that's okay. There's weird shows that appeal to me that are like that should be embarrassing like super embarrassing that I love. And
Tell us one.
No.
Tell us one,
We'll
Danae.
get to them
Come
eventually.
on, tell us one. Come on, just give us a taste. What's
The
one
Great
show?
British Bake Show.
Oh, no, that's a great show.
It is a great show.
That is not a guilty pleasure. Everybody knows that's a great show.
It's an amazing show.
I don't watch it, but I don't watch cooking shows. So
I do, and I like cooking shows, and that's kind of one of the things I enjoy.
I don't particularly like reality shows, and that's something
do.
that you guys are more into than I am.
Yeah.
So there are certain things, like Aaron and I already had a Masked Singer conversation, but there are certain things I'll watch. But for the most part, like I don't watch Survivor and cooking shows and stuff like that. But so we've all got stories.
This was a fun one to write on. There's a lot of sins
awesome.
that I'm really kind of excited to talk about. Aaron, what did you like about it?
Let's go into the sin video. I will say, since I haven't talked about Riverdale that much, I just watched the pilot in order to shadow on this script, and I did not enjoy it at all.
Oh, you didn't either?
I have zero desire to watch this show.
Yeah.
That is pretty much how I feel about every single CW show except The Flash. For whatever reason, The Flash has characters that I'm engaged with and interested in, and
I
Watch
storylines.
Batwoman?
No, I haven't.
I have it on my DVR. I have not dug into it yet. And I keep meaning to go back to the DC shows because I did quit watching all of them at some point. But it's going to be a while just because I'm going to have to catch up with a lot of stuff. But I was going to check out Batwoman. I do agree with you. The Flash is probably the best of those. I do think Legends of Tomorrow, everybody says Legends of Tomorrow gets insanely fun. So I'm really curious to keep watching that at some point.
Keyword insane. All right.
Yeah.
Danae, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, I think I actually did watch a CW show one entire season out of genuine curiosity, and it was the Sabrina.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't
Well,
watch
that
the
was on
second
Netflix, though. That was on Netflix.
Yeah.
That was not a CW show.
Oh, okay.
Another thing we shouldn't know.
I thought I was reading that they're connected somehow, but maybe
they
I'm wrong.
are. I mean, they are based on the comics. They're in the same universe. I will say,
okay.
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, though, is based on a new comic series that they created on Archie Comic, and it follows that to a T. So that is a straight up adaptation.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, that is Netflix.
So it wasn't related then. But
it's very similar, though. It's still very similar.
Yeah,
and I will say,
it is, but surprisingly dark, which is why I'm kind of surprised that I watched it. But I was, and also it's very satanic. So
hello, Satan.
Oh, hi, Satan.
But we should mention when we say that about the CW show thing, and I'm sure some things changed, but Riverdale originally was a Fox show.
Oh, okay.
Fox actually bought it and then decided not to go with it, and they moved to the CW. So.
Well, let's talk about the video itself. Let's start with the CW bingo card. First of all, lots of requests for us to actually make one, which I think we should.
That's so fun.
There might be some licensing issues there.
We'll skirt around it, but all we have to do is come up with 24 cliches for a full bingo card, and I think we can do that. I certainly think there are at least 24 things.
Hell, you might even get the CW on board with that. I think they very much love what they're doing.
Yeah. So there was also some comments that how did you get a bingo with 4 entries? Well, you forgot the free space in the middle, so it was just the right 4 entries.
That's so funny.
But I also wanted to mention originally we had like 12 entries.
Oh yeah,
on the original script, and we thought it was a little too much.
Yeah, let's go into this a little bit because I want to praise Jonathan because I presented the CW shit show bingo because I was inspired by Aaron and Jonathan talking. I don't remember if it was what you were talking about, but the whole like the list, the paint by numbers check thing. And when you've talked about that, the two of you before about CW, it was just in my head. The latest
example, I think, being the 100. It just checked off.
Oh,
a bunch
I love
of
that
those.
show too. Keep going.
So because that was in my mind, it just turned into this bingo card.
Yeah.
And I just had this vision of sitting down with a checklist, watching the show, just going check, check, check. And so as I was writing the script, I just kept kind of going back to that. And I was a little nervous presenting the idea to Jonathan because this is like you're kind of creating this visual element. There's, audio that's going along with the sound of the card moving around. And will Jeremy understand the purpose of it?
Yeah.
And so Jonathan and I actually massaged this and worked on it in the combine process probably more than we've ever gone back and forth on anything before.
It had been a while since I mean, as far as TV sins go, this legit might have been the most we've gone back and forth on a script since like the very first video, Game of Thrones, and that was because we were creating channel. But this was not. I don't mean that in a bad way. This was fun.
It was trying to craft how do we make make sure that this is actually going to translate to the viewer because we're
and then
doing
we had to
something
show
so
it
different.
to two other people. Aaron had to read it, and Chris had to read it.
Yeah.
And they had their opinions too, which were good. So
yeah, we kind of opted to send as more bingo options forward, kind of knowing that they were going to get cut down a little bit, and that's exactly what happened. And I think that where it ended up was great. So it's just kind of fun to present something and see it kind of work.
Yeah, I legit think there were a dozen of them to start off with, and then we cut them down on my shadow process down to like 7 maybe.
This might have even had the most sins initially combined
Let's
that I've
talk
ever
about
had
that.
on a TV sin script.
Let's talk about that.
It
The
was
other
a
thing
lot.
that Jonathan did was he rejected my idea to have 12,500 sins. Did you know that was on there?
No.
Well, but it had nothing to do with the number because Danae was like, but the number means nothing. I was like, I totally agree. I was like, the problem we're going to have with that though is I thought that was going to be a huge pain for us reviewing the video, trying to figure out if Made In got it correct, because it's just such a large number.
The reason that I chose
and
that
I don't remember
number
what the other. Yeah, there's a very good reason why you chose
is that that's what she tells Veronica to follow her on Twitter, and she'll do a follow back. Well, don't freaking make a Twitter account, CW, if you're not going to follow back the 12,500 people at the time that I
one
wrote the
sin
script.
for every
That's
one of those
sin for every
non-follow
person
backs.
you didn't follow back.
And
so I
that's
was like,
really, I didn't even think about checking that. That's really awesome that you checked to see if there was a Twitter account.
I was super curious.
Yeah, I didn't
The
even
only
think about
person that the account is following is the actress who plays Cheryl Blossom.
Nice.
Of course.
So
of course,
that's how that works. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of that going on.
Another one of my favorites was the Cheryl would blossom at TV Sins. You know, I always
Nice
love.
one, Jonathan.
I even told Danae I'm pretty happy about this one.
Yeah, that one got some love in the comment section too.
Yeah, for sure. Really enjoyed Found Your Porn.
Yeah, I had that one down. That was Danae.
And then I always love a good pun / portmanteau, and Descriptions is just such a beautiful one of those.
That was Danae, I believe. So, yeah, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It might
I was pretty proud of myself.
I think that was pretty straightforward too. I don't think that was one we changed. I think you just had that list. There were quite a few of these we changed up
because it sounds so much like Descriptions.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's exactly like Descriptions.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
I just said it wrong. It's exactly like Descriptions. That's what it is, Aaron.
What were some of your favorite parts, Jonathan?
Well, you mentioned the got your porn or found your porn. That was hilarious. And that was one where I had to go back and actually watch it because I didn't know what she was referring to. So that was really funny. That was a nice catch. This is me, but I like tooting my own horn, but I liked getting a Pacey Miss Jacobs Dawson's Creek reference in there.
Yep.
Which Dawson's Creek's an early like WB, which would be interesting to see that show updated for the CW. It'd probably just be a lot crazier, but about the same. Danae looking up the Twitter handle I had written down. Chris actually changed this one up. Danae and I both, I believe, had stuff where Betty and Veronica kiss, right? I think we both had something there.
Yeah.
And then Chris came in with one that was just perfect, where it was that some people see a candle, you know, but it doesn't matter because at the end there's just sticky laptops or whatever. And I thought that was great. I love that we got to throw in the sin off for Luke Perry. I don't know if he's like the greatest actor in the world, but he's definitely a TV staple that we lost.
Yeah, he's Hall of Fame.
And since we're doing TV sins and everything, I mean, I don't know how you don't mention him. And we got a lot of people said they were happy we did that.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Little Rascals outtake, which I put in, I was so glad that worked because that was just one of those weird moments where I was watching the show and then it showed that shot of after Veronica's like says hi to them, and Archie just had this most ridiculous like stalkery, creepy look on his face. So just throwing in the alfalfa singing "You Are So Beautiful" to me.
Yeah,
I'm glad that got in, and I'm glad no one said we can't put that in because of Nick. Because I wanted that.
Danae, did you have any other thoughts on the script?
I had several that I was really proud of. When Cheryl makes the bird noise.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's so out of nowhere. It's great.
Well, he has these binoculars. He's looking around like he's looking for like wildlife or something, and then he comes across. And what it reminded me of a little bit was Music from Behind.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so I was like, man, let's just do something really weird.
Random.
And so then, of course, I go right to Google and like weird bird noises, and found a great video that had a whole bunch of options. And as soon as I heard the willow grouse, I was like, that's it. That's it. There's a weird noise. I really like that. I also really liked, there was something that happened this time that I know is going to continue to happen because you guys listening are the freaking best. But I had several people reach out to me, Twitter and Discord, asking if the black bra sheer top.
And in the comments.
And in the comments.
It's in the comments too, yeah.
Like, this is Danae. And I'm like, how do you know? So I guess I'm sort of, which is scary in a way because you've been pegged a little bit as Aaron.
Wordplay.
Yeah. And that's not always true.
Nope.
But in this case, I really enjoyed answering every single one of them going, how did you know? And they're like, we just knew it was you. So that was one of my favorite things that happened.
I thought it was funny that when Chris reviewed it, I think he thought you wrote the cheerleaders send. And I was like, that was actually me.
The flyer? Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that was me.
Yeah.
Because I have a flyer. My daughter is a flyer. So I knew they were super, super small people. And that was one I had to work with because I didn't want it to seem like I was saying Veronica was big.
Right.
I was just saying she looked too tall to be a flyer is what I was trying to say. If there's anybody out there that thinks I meant something mean.
The other one I really loved was the please don't make me look up bloated body in the water.
Yeah.
Please don't make me look this up because it's kind of one of those things as you know, listening to the show that we actually try to, fact check or whatever. And so I was writing that from a genuine perspective. And I was thinking, I think the narrator would say this. And so to add those 2 sins, I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I wondered if Jeremy would like to read that. And I was really, 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 really proud of my outtake this time because...
Well, let's talk about that because you don't deliver a lot of outtakes. You really struggle with the outtakes.
Although you did do the... we didn't mention it when we were talking about The Good Place, but the Who Are the People in My Neighborhood?
Yeah.
That was you.
Yes.
And that turned out super well because you had like Ted Danson on the screen. It looked like he was singing it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the ones that I do, I'm genuinely proud of them. But I mean, it's one of those things that's part of my job that you just know you don't do well. And so I'm just really hoping I can get better at it because God help me, I don't want to watch a show all the way through just to freaking look for outtakes. You know what I mean? Like that's just another watch because I already watch them twice to really, get a good script. And then I reread my script 3 or 4 times before I send it on.
Right.
So that's just so much more time just for an outtake. So I'm really hoping that this just naturally develops. But anyway.
So what was the one from this? I'm sorry, I forgot.
I didn't say it. The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
So freaking proud of that one because that character is like, she's like eating people alive because she's such this like villainous, person. And so to think of that line from, I had to go look it up. I had to read parts of the script because I haven't seen that movie before, but I know there's a famous line and it just seems like she's, this
wow, that's
creepy
even
person.
more interesting that you hadn't seen it, but you just knew that line
I knew there was
existed.
something there. And so then I had to like listen to all these famous lines from it and then get to the one I'm having an old friend for dinner and just how creepy it is. And it just turned out so well.
Well, and that was
Very
perfect
nice.
Because we do Silence of the Lambs a lot, but normally we do like the It Rubs the Lotion on or something like that. So that's not one I believe that we use that often. And it was perfect for that moment.
Yeah,
like,
I was really proud of that one.
Her character.
If anyone ever complains about my outtakes amount, I'm just going to refer to that one and be like, no.
It's about quality.
It's about quality, not
quantity.
quantity. There's been a couple outtakes I'm super proud of. That's one of them. Go ahead. On to the next.
On to the next one. It was Riverdale was a great video, guys. Really well done. Let's move on to the latest Friends video, the one with all the Thanksgivings. This was Dicer Hughes' script. Danae and I writing on this.
Can I ask a real quick question? So we did a poll on these episodes, right? We had okay, because I was really curious why because Friends is pretty well known for its Thanksgiving episode. Like that's kind of one of their things that they did, and this isn't really one of the better ones. So I'm kind of, but maybe most people think it is. Maybe I'm just alone.
Well, it was the one that got the most votes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, I will say we don't go with a straight vote total choice process. We also take into consideration things like spreading through different seasons,
For sure.
those kind of things. But no, this one was definitely one that got a lot of votes.
I think because it's the one where Chandler says he loves.
Now that is a great moment.
Yeah, I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
And I also think people like to do the flashbacks to different parts of the story that sort of give more
context
to their friendships and relationships. And seeing Chandler and seeing Ross, dressed up in 80s gear and like Flock of Seagulls or whatever they were doing the next year.
I think that's why people
fun.
like the prom video one so
and
much.
you get to see Rachel's old nose and you get to see Monica in a fat suit. So there's just sort of, world building there. I think people really liked.
Hey, the fat suit was improved.
Yes, it had. That's what I wrote down about about this episode, it's kind of like a clip show, except for it's all new material. It's like everybody sitting around reminiscing and then kind of doing,
Well, and Friends did this a decent amount too, so that is kind of interesting. Maybe this is one where they kind of packed in two of their like favorite things to do, Thanksgiving and showing the clip show that's not really a clip show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the episode's fine as far as Friends episodes are considered. Let's talk about the video a little bit. I'll let you start, Jonathan, since Danae and I wrote on it.
It was very, very funny. I thought, first off, I just want to say butternut squash is great. But it is a weird name.
But it shouldn't be called butternut. What a weird word for a squash. Come on.
I also thought that, we call out him talking about, Joey talking about the girl's skirt coming up and how that doesn't age well. And we didn't call this out, but we did have a joke about it, which we had the peen joke, which was great. But I did think it was really funny, they're making the whole joke about how he's met his future wife that ends up being a lesbian.
And then they just pile on, 4 different lesbian stereotypes.
She plays for both teams. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. But I did love the sin that we used because a peen is always hilarious. And then you made it rhyme, so that was even better. I also loved the college girlfriend sin, just because it was very different than our normal college girlfriend sin. Because I could see that being one that listeners are like, God, our viewers are like, you guys really run this college girlfriend sin into the ground. But I like that we can find new ways to use it.
Yeah, it was. It just struck me as because the first part of what he says is so much that's what she said / college girlfriend kind of moment, and then he adds something about a nail, and just the idea that it would totally shake the narrator out of it.
Oh no,
I like Danae was able to get her Rachel sucks thing in.
Thank you.
And that was actually a good point. She brought all of that up. So
and she does it again in the next episode.
I thought that was funny because when I was rewatching the video to prep for this, I was thinking about that. I was like, wait, didn't I just read this in another script? And I was like, oh my God, she did it again.
She's a horrible person.
You're converting me.
I got to make fun of the relationship again and compare them to hot sauce and hiney holes.
Oh, that was so good. The hiney holes one. I remember when you wrote that, you actually sent it to me in like a text or something.
Yeah.
Like I just wrote this one and I'm laughing at myself. And this one does the thing where it's like Ross was making fun of Chandler and he invented some way of making fun of Chandler. He's like, that joke was mine. And the sin in the video is CinemaSins writers. Yeah. I loved that because that is us. We're like, that joke was mine.
As soon as he said it, he was just the look on his face. It was like, mine. It's like he's on an episode of Behind the Sins right now.
Oh, I did it.
I think what he said was, Sir Limps a lot. I came up with that. And then he just gives this look. And it's just like, this is us.
Oh my God.
This is us. We haven't talked about the Cine Wink yet.
Well, I thought Danae would want to talk about that, so I left that alone.
Yeah, tell us about the process of the sin, Cine winking, because I actually wrote the sin.
You did.
Which was about Cine being an SJW, which I love the fact that we can keep people off balance with what do we believe? What is the character of the sin counter? What's the character of the narrator? Where does it come from?
The idea for the wink came from us talking about him being a sentient, him or her.
Thank you.
Cine being a sentient they.
I believe Cine prefers the pronoun they.
Oh, okay. So it is.
No, not it.
I think like the narrator is Jeremy. Cine might just be Danae.
So I wanted to throw something out, and we had just had the conversation with Creasy about how they like to have challenges as editing team.
He regretted that, by the way.
And so I thought, well, wouldn't it be kind of funny if after this joke is made about that Cine would just sin it anyway? What if there was a way to confirm that? So I thought about a wink. And the editing team, I think it was actually Ashley, she was like, we can do that. And then she wrote a little bit about some things she looked up. Well, I have a Note 9, and so I just pulled my pen out and I just drew up an idea to flip the 4 on its side and then turned it into a mouth and then have it wink, and emailed that back. And just that kind of visual assistance on what we could do to possibly animate the sin counter turned into something. She was like, oh, I can do that quick. And so she did it, and we all liked it. We tweaked it just a little bit so that the ding happened right when the wink happened, and then we put it out to you guys, and you guys liked it.
Yeah, people love it.
So that was really fun.
Yeah, that was a fun one. And then I wanted wanted to give props for Chantrum because, again, another portmanteau.
That was good, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I did 2 good ones.
I think you've done more than 2 good ones. Anything else about this episode or this Sins video that you guys wanted to mention?
We mentioned it, but I will say, like, the Chandler saying "I love you" is actually a really good moment, even if the turkey head thing is the dumb,
ridiculous. Yeah, I have a lot.
I do
of notes.
believe you could get a turkey that big, but
no,
you really can't.
No, and I think somehow the
well, you could get a turkey maybe that big, but it wouldn't be that hollow on the inside. You would have to hollow it out as well.
Yeah,
gotcha.
there are massive turkeys, but the cavity is not built for human heads.
Yeah, not that easily. It would take a lot of preparation.
And
I see.
So I did some research on the prop, which was kind of fun to do. And behind the scenes stuff is that the prop for Friends was incredibly expensive.
Yeah,
because it had to look real and have breathability, and they had to be able to see through it. And it did. It looked really real.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It was a funny gag. Like it was a legit funny sight, especially when Monica had it on.
Yeah.
And was like dancing, and that was.
But I still say,
funny.
and we both wrote this sin, but I still say the most legitimate sin in that entire video is where did that turkey come from? Because
I totally
it was
agree
after
with you.
Thanksgiving.
I totally agree with you.
So
that bothered me.
That is the most legitimate. If there is ever a legitimate sin in any of the videos we do, that's one of them.
Yeah. How can you get a turkey that big on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah.
Like, who's even open that has 25-pound turkey? Anyway, I also realized that Mr. Bean did this, and
which people were really glad that you referenced.
Which I was so excited for because I watched clips from that particular episode. Hilarious, of course, but I also learned that he he was in a lot of pain after recording the episode because his prop was insanely heavy. So he was trying to keep his head up while having this prop on, and he ended up kind of hurting himself. So just this whole turkey, people's head in turkeys thing has, it comes with complications, is what I'm saying, and that was kind of fun to research.
Physical comedy is hard to name.
It is hard. I also really like there was a sin that both Aaron and I wrote, and we had very different perspectives on it.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about this.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about the chocolate chip cookie or the cookie? I don't even know if it was chocolate chip. It was so funny because we both wrote a sin when she says, "Hey, don't eat my cookie. I'm going to leave it here." From our own perspectives, mine was the one that got in because I think actually it probably matches the narrator's,
whatever
being obstinate. But my perspective is, if you're not going to eat food,
it's up for grabs.
It's up for grabs. And Danae's is, look, I can take my time with my food. And she's right, by the way. I fully admit her perspective is probably the healthier perspective. In fact, the narrator mentions that in the sin.
And that was fun because we actually sort of changed some of the verbiage as we went to sort of encompass a little bit of those perspectives. I think I remember.
It was just hilarious because Danae's sin was very much
completely opposite.
A sin on anybody who would dare take a bite.
Who would do that?
And my sin was on anybody who would tell you not to take a bite.
So we had a nice little back and forth.
But I understand what Aaron's saying because this is just me personally. If I'm really in the mood for a cookie and you put a cookie in front of me, like that's going to be gone. Like if it's mine, that's going to be gone. Like
especially
I'm not
if you haven't taken a bite in 5 minutes and then you walk out the door
5
without
minutes.
even touching it.
I'm not going to be Phoebe and just let it sit there.
Of course, I'm the person that when we left for Nashville, there was lots of chatter that we actually brought donuts with us, and I didn't eat 1.5 of the donuts that were.
They sat there all weekend.
Aaron,
you have
bought
no
me
idea.
2 donuts, and I ate half of one, and that was it.
And I kept saying, hey, those donuts are still out there. You want me to bring those in? No, I may eat them later. No, I may eat them later.
Also, before we move on, I want to say in the comment section there was talk about Courtney Cox having an accent. Did you guys know she has an accent?
No,
I didn't either.
She naturally has a Southern accent.
Yeah, she actually, and I didn't know that. So kind of fun.
I
to
didn't
read
know that either. I have no idea where she's from.
They're basically the idea was you're giving sense back for Phoebe, which I love that we did that this episode. And I know the moment that she kind of like steps out and is asking kind of like, "Hello, are you there?" Because Joey he's like, "Hello, help," and she kind of just steps out and has this like happy little ethereal grin, like she's about to talk to a ghost or another being or something. I just love the way that she acted in that moment.
We gave some sense back for Monica too.
Yeah, so
in this one,
but not for her accent.
No, not for her accent.
So, anyway,
no.
Well, Courtney Cox, to be fair, is probably the best actor on that show.
You think so?
Yeah, and part of that is probably because she had the most experience going into the show too.
I don't know. I really like Joey
because she was on Family Ties for a while. No, Matt LeBlanc's a good actor too. I'm just saying, I believe, in my personal opinion.
No, that's fine. I was just giving you crap for no reason.
I hear you. Yeah, she's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, so she has.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be an Alabama accent. Would definitely.
But I've
be
seen her like on
South.
talk shows and stuff. I don't remember. So she must really hide it well.
Yeah, she's probably fully adapted her accent at this point.
yeah.
So
Well, I have an Australian accent. You guys can't tell. So
that's true. Yeah. Danae's been hiding that for a long time. All right, let's move on to music.
I wish for all of the Australians. I wish.
Say good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Yeah, that was great. That's
Thank
you. Brisbane. I think
Yep.
you're from Brisbane.
It's just as amazing as my Sincast hello.
That's
Hi.
right. Hi. Let's move on to music video sins. Lizzo is on the agenda for this week's music video sins. The song is called Truth Hurts, and let's hear what you guys have to say about it, because I think I have opinions on this that nobody wants to hear.
I like Lizzo the person. A decent.
I've never met her.
No, I've never met her, but I'm saying just from what I've seen of her in interviews and stuff. Like I like her.
Mm-hmm.
She seems like a very real individual, and she's just I like her. I just don't like the music. I'm not getting why she's as popular as she is. But
well, in this
maybe
song,
it's just not for me.
apparently, this song came out a couple years ago and is just now getting to be popular, which I find very fascinating.
Yeah,
as
and it was
well.
popular after like she had a couple other hits. I mean that does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean that's happened to quite a few. Like 9 Inch Nails is the one that always pops in my head because Pretty Hate Machine was out for like 2 years before Head Like a Hole became a hit.
Yeah.
So it does happen. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, that is weird.
So I read the lyrics and I watched the original video. I didn't care for it much. I don't know. It just feels okay. So these Danae, you talk. I don't think nobody wants to hear my opinions on this song.
Oh, okay,
I really
cool.
don't feel like anybody
I
wants
just
to
have
hear
a
what I have to
question
say.
about a sin I didn't get. What is smells like someone crapped in their silly or bong? What is that from?
That is Jay and Silent Bob. That is
that's
that these morose motherfuckers over here. I honestly, right this second, I think it's from Clerk, the first Clerk.
Okay,
but it's from one of those movies.
Like it's one of those sins where you just didn't get something.
Right, there's a reference there
and
that
there's
I'm
a
missing.
delivery to it, and the way that Jeremy delivers it, it's clearly it's fine. But I just missed it, so I had to ask you guys because this is a safe space to make mistakes and ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's definitely a Jason Mewes. I just for some reason
Okay.
I'm blanking on which Kevin Smith movie it's from.
But you're asking about the video itself, not the sins yet. I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I thought it was kind of fun, and it's a power song about like you don't own me, you can't have me. I'm not your side girl kind of a thing, and it's got that kind of power feel to it. I have actually so a little bit I guess about me is because I have chosen in my life not to consume a lot of media until now. Now it's my job. I don't keep up with a lot of like the new, especially in music.
Yeah.
I just really don't stay connected to a lot of the most popular musicians. So I'm actually meeting people now for the first time. I had never heard of Lizzo. I'm sorry. I'm the lame person. I apologize. But I was really having a good time like meeting her. And this is my first song to kind of get to know her in. So I got a vibe from her. And then I went and watched some of her live performances and was kind of impressed by what she's able to do. And then, of course, I watched music from behind and learned that, she's even cooler. So we'll talk about that next. So no, I it's my first time to really like listen to her. And I think she's talented and I had a good time. So I don't know what you vibed off of.
I'm not even going to talk about it. I found there was something, this is as far as I'll go.
Okay.
I found it all to be very, very inauthentic. I just felt very fake to me. And
that's a possibility.
You think it's fake that she would marry herself? That's so weird.
No. I think I need to stop
You
there
mean the
because,
lyrics?
and I'll tell you why, because I don't need to put this negativity out there in a way when I don't know her truth. Like, I don't know where she's coming from.
Even if it's not true for her, what's wrong with writing a song that has that kind of vibe to it?
Well, because when you're dealing with messages like those,
because maybe I missed a message that you're talking about.
Oh, you're going to make me talk more about this.
No,
it's okay.
I won't.
It's okay.
Because I might have missed.
I find value in emotion and in mourning things and in having actual conversations.
Wait, hold on. Can we get specific? Because
Sure.
this is super freaking
Sure.
nebulous.
Yeah.
I love that we have these conversations,
Yeah.
but this is going to last for 25
I know.
hours.
I knew you were going to draw me
So
in.
let me just ask this: are you talking about a breakup?
Yes.
And you're saying that you want to have more conversations instead of like, thank you next.
Yeah.
No.
I know.
Thank you
know.
next.
This is why I didn't want to talk about it.
That's interesting.
I just like I think
I want to
our
have a breakup
culture-
song where we have
Let's
conversations.
take it outside of Lizzo.
Okay.
Our culture is very very much can be dismissive and be in denial instead of actually working through their stuff. And there's nothing about this that wants to work through anything.
But you don't know that. You don't know what happened.
That's why I didn't want to talk about it. It's her truth, and that's great. But
and her truth hurts.
That's right.
I was just specific to I wasn't even thinking much about the message. It was more just like the song itself, just the style of it, just everything about it. It was not ringing in my ears as something I enjoyed.
I immediately wanted to learn the lyrics and rap along, so I had a different experience.
That says something, yes, for sure.
But that's okay, because that's what's fun about music. I do understand what you're saying. Sometimes there's like stuff that you just don't want to give time to, and I understand that you really value relationships, and that's really cool and everything. But there are some times whenever it's just like, nope, that we're not having conversations anymore.
And I think there's a balance there somewhere, and I am off balance. I am way too much. Let's talk about this. Like,
you also married your first love and had children, and you know.
But just from an artist standpoint, I'm really fascinated by the popularity she's gained this quickly. I mean, like Barrett is a huge fan of hers, for instance.
Yeah. Well, I think she's representing a type of artistry that's needed, because a lot of times women are portrayed in very specific ways, and she is not.
I can see that.
She is not a quote unquote role model that maybe.
I love the body confidence. I'm not going to lie. I love the body confidence.
She's also, speaking of Hustlers, she's in Hustlers.
Good for her.
That's
she's
true.
one of the dancers in Hustlers, and she's actually quite good. She's not in it very much, but when she's in it, in fact, I liked her a lot more in Hustlers than I did Cardi B. She didn't take away anything from the scenes she was in like Cardi B did.
To talk about some of the specific sins, though, I really like the sing and single, ain't worried about a ring on the finger. That's the line that she sings, and then it's like, but this is a wedding video. So I kind of I can kind of push the two aside. There's the song, and then there's the video, and I do like it when they match. But
that's my favorite line in the song, by the way, and my favorite part of her performance in that song is the way she sings the word "sing."
If my wife and I ever like renew our vows or anything, though, I want that dude exactly how he looks in that video.
I think we should all just stop it with "I want that dude."
Yeah. Like, no, that's not it. No, that would be great. That would be. I want pictures from that. Wedding vow renewal.
I also really like the Sound of Silence outtake. And that's the sound of silence.
Yeah.
And then also the Spider-Man meme that made it in there. Just good stuff.
I actually, when I was reviewing the video, that was one of my notes was, I love this so much. The Spider-Man thing.
It's great. I had a couple of nitpicky things on the video, which is always fun for me. Jeremy pronounces offensive lineman offensive lineman. And
I caught that.
It's one of those things where I'm like, wait, what did he do to offend you?
I didn't catch it on the review, though. I hated it. I can't believe neither me nor Barrett caught that. But yeah.
Well, and again, it can be funny. It can be on purpose. It can be a funny thing. But
and maybe that's what it was. Barrett might have written it that way, and I just wasn't aware.
Okay, just hear me on this. Let me hear me on this. As someone who doesn't do the football, I thought it was pronounced offensive lineman.
No, because you thought it was defense and offense.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I forgot about the defense part of it altogether. So
and I'm just curious. The whole fuck the Minnesota Vikings rant, which was clearly Barrett. I mean, obviously Barrett wrote the script, but like you would never have any doubt that anyone else wrote the script when you saw that, because that's a Green Bay Packers fan. You know.
But does Lizzo was she dating a lineman? Do we know?
No. She just makes a comment about the Vikings. That's all it was.
That's part of her song, but like I just don't know enough about her to know what that's referencing. I guess I'll have to dig a little deeper. I'll do one of my Danae research dives.
I think Barrett just saw the chance to make fun of the Minnesota Vikings.
You've never done that with sports, Jonathan.
No, none of us have.
No.
Thirstily staring at a camera was great. Because the one of the music video sins running gags is the sexily staring at a camera. Yeah. So I like that he changed that up a little bit. And the marrying yourself metaphor, I thought for a second maybe this was a video about Aaron Dicer. So I'm really surprised he didn't like this more.
Shame on you, Jonathan. Shame on you. The other nitpick I wanted to do was, I could be wrong, but I think we kind of misdefined nonplussed, because it sounded like we were saying it meant like the opposite of, yes plussed? Like
no glue.
Crazy. But nonplussed actually means the same thing as being confused and distracted and crazy. People think it means not that because they think plussed is that, but so I kind of caught that and I was like, I'm nonplussed.
I don't remember the send, so I mean, it could have just been the way they did the play on words. I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, those are the two little nitpicks that I'd throw out there. Danae, did you have anything else in the video?
Nope.
Good to go. All right, we'll move on to music from behind the story of Lizzo, or should I say Blue Ivy.
This is my favorite one to date.
This is one of mine for sure.
Tell me why, Danae. I liked it too. It was really funny, but
because I love Beyonce. so seeing that she was handled with
the proper respect.
Yes, because if
Queen
you're gonna,
Bee.
yes, she needs to be respected.
The yonce.
I don't know that I've ever heard called the yonce before. But
I wonder how it. I mean, I'm sure it's fine for Beyonce because she's she gets to do what she wants to do and she's very famous. But I always wonder when you get to that level of where you're Beyonce or you're Oprah or you're Angelina Jolie.
I believe that's goddess level.
Yeah, you get to that level where it's almost they're beyond being just a person. It's hard to imagine just sitting down and talking to Beyonce about about sports or movies or something
What's the best way to handle a hangnail?
Yeah, there you go.
No,
Beyonce doesn't get hangnails.
Well, she just has a whole bunch of people attend her hands and feet. She has one person for each digit to make sure.
But I love the
perfect.
shots they used of her whenever they were talking about her.
Oh yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah, this is my favorite story so far for two reasons. One, I mentioned Beyonce, and second, because I was learning about Lizzo, and so to kind of have it go right along with the music video, and then to sort of have fun with it.
You thought this was true?
Yeah, this is absolutely true.
You said Beyonce again. It's the yonce.
Shut
the
your
yonce,
mouth.
I think is
no. That sounds so disrespectful.
I mean, the Carters probably do have a time machine. Let's be honest.
Yes, let's be honest. That is probably something that does exist.
And there's just so many clever references in this video, callbacks to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Plus you get to play with time travel, which is always fun because you can say stupid things like Terra Nova develops a cult, classic status, which that's the only thing about this video I have to talk about is that it brought up Terra Nova, which just slays me.
Why?
So,
by the way, I legit liked Terra Nova.
It wasn't bad.
I watched every episode. It had a great season finale too.
I don't know what this is.
That's the point. This is a show that nobody watched.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It was a really expensive show on Fox a few years ago where it was basically Jurassic Park, the show, but it was they were actually back in the time of dinosaurs.
It's about time travel, so that's kind of the connection.
Gotcha.
Terra Nova means new Earth, so they were.
Yeah, I knew that.
They were going back to establish a
new
Earth.
They had to find a new place to live because Earth in the present was all jacked up. That's what it was. So, it wasn't bad at all.
that cracked me up. That's all I got to say. So the rest is you guys.
Where did he come? Whoever wrote that. I mean, I know there's some writers that made in that work on it too, but I don't know who pulled Terra Nova out of their head because I hadn't thought about that in forever and might have been one of the only people that watched every episode, which is why it's not on anymore.
Scanning the comment section on MFE continues to be one of my favorite things because the audience continues to just be so thrilled with what they're watching. So it's very different in a way from, CinemaSins and TV Sins. You've got people that are obviously commenting on what they felt when they're watching it, but oftentimes it's just suggestions for something else to do. Whereas MFB is just people genuinely having a good time. And so it's just a different vibe in the comment section. So I'm actually interacting more in those comments than I do on the other channels. And so that's been really fun for me. There's actually one of them that popped up that I'm going to slide in here if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So this was directed directly at us, so I might be stealing one of your guys' comments.
No, the B team shout outs are so great.
But it's a good question, and it's related to what we're talking about. So this is from Kim Herring. She says, "Hey B team, what did Barrett mean by that's it for the first season of MFB? Was he just being dramatic, or is MFB going to stop for a while?" So I thought we could talk about it now since we're in the section.
Yeah, I think it's a seasonal show. So yeah, it'll be on hiatus for a little bit.
It's actually canceled forever.
Sorry, canceled guys. Not enough people watched. So maybe it'll attain cult status like Terra Nova.
No, it's coming back. I don't even think it's going to be very long. So.
No, it's just and we talked about this a bit on Sincast. So if you're listening to this podcast, probably you listen to Sincast as well. And on this episode that came out earlier this week. On Monday, you're going to hear kind of more chatter about like how the guys tried these different video formats and some succeed and some fail. So similar to this, it's like, hey, let's try this thing and see what happens. And so this first season was really an opportunity for the writers and the editors and everyone to get a feel for whether this is a format that everyone likes. And it's, you know, obviously everybody's having a good time. So we're going to wrap up season 1 and then, you know, hit the ground running for season 2 at some point.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, definitely. Anything else about Music from Behind?
I liked the line, "Music so good it's probably from the future."
Yeah.
That was one of my moments where I couldn't stop laughing.
Very nice. Let's move on to the CinemaSins videos for last week.
Cool.
We'll kick it off with Zombieland. This was a Scott share joint. So Jeremy and Barrett teaming up on this one. Danae, you've probably never seen Zombieland, I'm guessing? Doesn't sound like something that would be appealing to you?
No, but I remember when it came out, there was a lot of people that were telling me that it was fun.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I would watch.
That's what
I mean, it's a straight up comedy. It is
Yeah.
not a horror movie in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, other than there's gore. You know,
there
like
is gore, but I'm just saying it's not like there's nothing in it that's scary or frightening in the least.
Yeah.
I mean, it's played for laughs.
And
much
unless
like
dead people
Shaun of
scare
the
you.
Dead. These are silly dead people.
I think the meta-ness of this movie is kind of a little bit of what made it. I think it's clever. I love Emma Stone, obviously. We all do. Yeah. It's funny. It's fresh. It kind of took me by surprise. It's one of those nice movies where you're not expecting a ton and you go watch it and you're like, oh, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't think I was ever like on the love bandwagon that a lot of people were at the time. Because, I mean, this movie was a huge hit. Like, it did really well and kind of caught everybody by storm. Like, nobody really expected it to do what it did. Because I remember, I mean, not that it's in the same, boat as far as the type of horror film it is, if you want to call it that. But I remember at the time, like, Saw 6 came out like a week or two after it. And it did better than Saw 6 like 3 weeks later than Saw 6 did in its first weekend, basically. So, and Saw, owned like October for the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, no, it's funny. I do like that in the video itself. I do like that we point out how silly the rules are, which I think that's kind of on purpose. But it is interesting when you look at it, when you really start to get into like the rules.
I think this is a good time to talk about this because there will be times where, and the comments certainly were full of a lot of people explaining, well, the rules are just what came to his head, and it's not supposed to make sense. And we get that. We understand that. You can still sin parts of that don't make sense, or the narrator is looking at it and going, why is this rule this way? Or so.
Well, and I think we point out we make a good point though, that most likely, which granted I don't know the screenplay writers personally, but I have a feeling like somebody in the was like, man, cardio, that's just going to be funny. I mean, I don't think they were thinking past that. So I mean, we're kind of just making fun, and that's even mentioned in the Sins. We're making fun of the idea that most likely the screenplay writers weren't taking the rules seriously.
Right.
They were just, whatever was funny to them is what they decided to put in.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. The sending the rules hit for me because there's multiple times it's kind of mentioned in our script, but then it hit for me when it was like, if this is the most important rule, it should be number 1. And I'm like, it's starting to make more sense because having never seen it.
Yeah.
But it looked fun. I like, and I've said this before, so I hate to sound like a broken record, but I like watching the Sins videos when I know I'm not going to watch the movie and don't have any interest in watching the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is one of those where I probably could watch it. It kind of made it less scary for me, where maybe I could go in and watch it now and kind of know what to expect in a way. It's like a extended preview, and it. There's been several times I've read comments of other people having the same kind of feel, like, thank you for doing this. Now I can go watch it. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like a spoiler, like a snarky spoiler in a way.
Yeah.
Because I was able to see some of the things that were really interesting, and like the way that they would overlay the rules onto the screen. Mm-hmm. Just some of how they, I don't know what that would be called technically.
Yeah. It's like Adobe After Effects, it's just like, it's weird text stuff.
Which I'm sure at the time when this came out was sort of fun in a way. Now you kind of see it more often, and even commercials and things like that, where the text sort of moves in such a way that kind of guides your eyes around, and it sort of matches the scenery. It matches the screen, whatever's happening. So anyways, just seeing kind of how the movie was shot and that it is a comedy, that was sort of fun. So
I, as someone who legit does not like clowns and is
I wondered
scared
which
of
one of us was
clowns,
going to
I
bring
guess I'm an
this one
idiot.
up.
But
Yeah,
go ahead.
You just need to have a sexual experience in a bank sometimes,
Apparently.
and then you'll be fine.
But I mean, I guess maybe that, I think Jeremy's point was more, because I think he wrote that, because I talked to him about something else, but I believe he told me he wrote that one too. But I think his point was that it's just kind of gotten overplayed. Like, it's just like clowns are in everything now. And
Yeah.
like they're presented as like a scary thing, which they don't necessarily have to be. Totally agree with that. I just don't like it. Like, I don't like masks either in general, just because I don't like not knowing what your actual facial expression is. Like, I don't like painted on smiles.
Don't ever go into surgery, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
They're all wearing masks in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, I don't like the painted on smile is what gets me. Like, that's what creeps me out, because you think like there could be like a really like just deranged person behind that. I don't know. That whole imagery is what always like freaked me out. That's why I have my fear.
No, I wrote that down
and I haven't
too.
liked him since I was a kid.
Because I remember when we talked about sharks on that episode, and the Discord chat blew up about everyone kind of sharing their own phobias.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that, learning about people having fear of depth and people having fear of heights and people having fears of this and that. And clowns came up. And there's two people in Discord that I remember were like not cool with clowns. Crispy and Schadenfreude. They were like, I'm not okay with clowns. And so the first people that I thought of, I'm like, well, I know two people.
It's way down on the list for me, but it's definitely like, I think it's a legit thing, but I know why he put it in there, and it was still very funny.
It was extremely funny, and the line "nobody in the bank seemed to mind either" is one of my favorite lines ever written in a CinemaSins script.
That was
it's just
outstanding.
Perfect. It's perfect. Anything else from the video that you guys wanted to highlight?
I love that we
up?
had a future roll credits for Double Tap. I thought that was really funny. And I kind of forgot. I mean, I guess I did know they said that because that's one of the rules, but I wasn't thinking about it, and then when I saw that in the video, I thought that was hilarious. I liked the line "Hold my Twinkie," which was very fitting for the movie and the scenario. I like Mad Dog and Glory, but even though we made fun of that, I just want to say that's actually a really good underrated movie.
Right.
Cleaning out grocery stores when snow is predicted in the South is
truth.
Oh my God, that is just such a pet peeve of mine. But
it's the truth, man. It's the truth. As somebody who grew up and lived most of my life in Michigan, the way the South handles half an inch of snow is hilarious.
Are you eating milk sandwiches? Like, the milk and bread thing is what kills me.
Yeah.
Like, are you pouring the milk on the bread?
You dip the bread. No, you dip the bread in the milk.
Oh, okay.
I think it's got to come from like something historical where our ancestors passed down that if it snows, you go grab what you need because you're not going to get out.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
I think it's perishables, right?
Sometimes that does happen.
It's perishables. It's things that quickly perish. Bread, because if you're stuck, the bread and milk you have will go bad. So you want to go get some new bread and milk too. It's the perishable stuff.
But what always irritates me about it is because all these the people that are crazy and go do it make the people that are sane have to go do it, because if we don't, we will have nothing.
Better option. Make your own bread.
There you go. Yeah,
get flour, get some salt,
and you make your own milk right now. So
I know, right? We'll be fine.
Wow. Anyways,
I really like the Hostess truck and the reference that Hostess went under. Just after. Yeah. But I'm like heavily immersed in snack cake world because my husband's job involves snack cakes.
Hostess is the enemy.
Yeah, they're our enemy.
Yeah.
Hostess.
You're a little Debbie family.
Mm-hmm. We sure are. So seeing the Hostess truck, I did think where like you cross your arms, you go, no. I don't like Twinkies. The only other two that I wrote down are like stuff that you'd have to bleep me out on, but don't stick your beep in crazy and eat yellow snow. I cracked up. And then the BS taco wrapped in a Kiss My Balls shell topped with a slightly tangy FU sauce. I'm like, man, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
No,
very descriptive.
My dad actually gave me the "don't stick your dick in crazy" advice.
Was that your joke?
No, I didn't write this.
That's
that's
common phrase,
something I've heard many times since, but my dad just said it to me. I'd never heard it before. And that was one of my things going to college. That was one of his tips.
It's not bad advice.
No, it's not. It's weird when I think back on it. I think he was trying to be funny.
Right.
And since I had never heard it before, I didn't get it. So I think it just created an awkward moment between us. But I will never forget him saying that, though.
Yeah.
It's so funny, those moments when our parents decide to say something about sex once we're older. I will never forget on my wedding day, my dad looked at me and we hadn't talked about sex since I was, had the talk or whatever. He looked at me and he goes, "Some nights are for her, some nights are for you." And that was his big advice for my wedding day.
And not untrue.
Not untrue.
That's actually
not
pretty
that I
good
didn't
advice.
know that, but you know.
That's much better advice
crap.
than what I got, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how you look at it, I guess.
If I don't know if anyone has anything else, but I did also want to say that I was really excited to see this one was trending on the trending page, this video. And I know that happens from time to time, but it's really fun for me to see that now that I'm kind of on the back, like the behind the scenes stuff.
I think both movies last week, both CinemaSins videos trended for a little bit.
Oh, very nice.
And this one's at like 1.5 million views.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
That's big.
The only one thing I had to say, and if we've done this before, and I'm like in the past, and I just don't remember it, that's fine. But we had a couple. I believe we had 2 Social Network outtakes. But I remember thinking while I was watching it, like you could literally just do 5 or 6 Social Network outtakes. Like you could have just had Jesse Eisenberg and just done a bunch of great ones, because that's one of those movies where you could just pull from. And then I was just thinking, I wonder if we could ever try to do that. I think that would be like an interesting thing to do with the outtakes at some point. Like just pick like a movie.
Do them all from the same one.
And just have like 5 or 6 from that same movie. But I don't know, that was just something that popped in my head while I was watching it, because I was sitting there thinking the whole time, like you could totally just have like, because there's so many moments from that movie, so you just throw Jesse Eisenberg in a random scene and just grab something from Social Network, and it would be amazing. So, anyways,
it's one of those things where all of a sudden you start to turn it into like an alternate trailer for Social Network,
exactly.
using just Zombieland footage. We ready to move on to Brightburn?
Yeah, I'm gonna skip this one.
Did you watch it?
Nope.
Oh, that makes me really sad.
Why?
It's so funny. It's a
it's
really
a great video.
It might be one of my
favorite videos.
Okay. First of all, you should have told me before now that it would be a good one to watch, because 2, I was supposed to write on Brightburn, and you told me not to because it was a scary horror one.
Well, we took all that stuff out. We just have fun.
I watched Pet Cemetery last week, and it was traumatizing.
That has I don't know. It's different.
You need to tell me.
Barrett and I are mean. Aaron and Jeremy are nice. Was this you and Jeremy? I'm sorry, you didn't.
Yeah. This is a Dicer Scott joint. So Jeremy and I wrote on this one. We can talk about the movie itself since we're kind of already there.
Yeah, I've seen it. Go ahead.
And we touch on this quite a bit in the video, but what a waste of a great concept. I
can agree with that.
It felt like the movie didn't understand what was so good about this idea, because it completely undermines it and short circuits it by just having it be a possession movie. It's just a demon possession movie.
Yeah, I think they just kind of wanted to make a paint by the numbers horror movie, and I mean, and I guess it is hard to, they do say you can't really argue what a movie isn't, but in this case, I mean, it does feel like there could have just been a lot more to it. I felt for what it was. I actually tweeted when I saw it in the theater. I tweeted kind of jokingly, kind of serious, that if it was a DCEU movie, it would be near the top.
Yeah.
After watching it a second time, or watching this edit and just watching a lot of it again, I kind of still feel that way. I mean, I'm sure like Wonder Woman's better, but although Wonder Woman, I will admit, doesn't hold up that great. But I mean, just that speaks more to how bad most DCEU movies are than this actually being good. I think I like it more than you, but I still don't like it.
Yeah, admittedly, this is the kind of thing that snowballs on me. Early on, when I realize it's not taking the concept where I want to take it, it's not taking the concept in a place I find interesting. Then all of a sudden, the cheap jump scares and the silly horror tropes and all that stuff just becomes even more annoying.
Yeah, that bugs me too. I mean, because like I said, it is very paint by the numbers, and as far as the paint by the numbers type of thing like this goes, I guess it's okay, but do I care?
Yeah.
When I've seen this done so much better, so many other times.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, the one thing I did, and this has to do with the video too, you guys talk about the Erica death scene and the diner.
Yeah.
I did legitimately like that scene. It is gross, but I did actually find that scene creepy. And I thought it was, even though the blood vision is dumb as hell, I thought it was a very effective tool as far as like visually. And I don't know. I enjoyed that scene.
If I'm glad that scene's there for no other reason than it allowed me to write one of my favorite sins that I've ever written in a script.
And I didn't watch it. That's why you're so upset.
Which is "There's no crying blood in baseball."
Yes, I had that written down.
It just came to me. It was just one of those things.
Yeah,
and,
Danae, she's holding a baseball bat, like she's missing an eye, or she pulled glass out of an eye, and she's holding a baseball bat with blood just pouring from her eyes. And the narrator says, "There's no crying blood in baseball." Brilliant.
That is really brilliant. Mm-hmm. But somebody having blood pour out of their eyes, just another reminder. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Well, he's making it sound gross. She had blood that had dripped from her eye. It was just like a blood tear stain, kind of thing. So
I'm just gonna have to get over my weirdness about watching crap like that.
Well, we don't show. We try our hard because we can't show.
That's
a lot
true.
Well, we try not to show. I guess we can. We just don't know what's going to get dinged and what's not.
Right,
so we do our best.
Well, and I'll even talk about that a little bit because that scene specifically with the shard of the fluorescent light that gets stuck in her eyeball or whatever. We do a sin about how that they think that's so gross, and Jeremy's hilarious in that sin because then he talks about a BB going up a penis and how that's gross. Like it's hilarious. But the thing is, we even edited that originally so that you really couldn't see the glass or the eye. But then we were still like, you know what? Even because you can kind of tell what's going on, let's go ahead and blur it too. And we're overly cautious about that kind of stuff. So, and that was kind of an example of one of those things.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't watch it.
No, you don't.
I feel bad.
It's totally understandable. I get why you didn't.
Actually, you hate horror movies. I totally get it. I would think most people that dislike horror movies probably those are videos of ours they avoid a lot of time. I thought the sleep banging. I don't know who wrote that.
That was Jeremy.
That term was brilliant.
Yeah.
The camping sin, which I know Jeremy wrote because that was the one I was talking to him about, where he mentioned he wrote the clown one.
Yeah.
As someone who probably hates camping more than like anything else in the world, that sin spoke to me greatly.
I was going to say there's been very few sins that have spoke to me on a deeper level as the hate camping sin. There's a moment where, and it's a whole rant, right? And then there's this one moment where he sarcastically says, "It's so fun to be stupid and out of doors." And I have never felt something in my heart so deeply as in that moment. That he said that.
Did you read the comments on this one? Because you tend to find stuff I don't somehow. But I didn't really see many people saying anything bad about that because I figured, like, man, because I know there are people that just love camping. My dad was that person.
I kind of love the hatred for camping. I'm on the fence. I've had some good camping experiences and I've had some bad camping experiences. It's a lot of work to go camping.
Yes, it is.
You go camping with people who are camping fans so that you can kind of like piggyback on their excitement. They're the ones that are like, yeah, let's get all this stuff out of the truck and haul it over here and set it all up. And you're like, okay, I'll just follow your lead. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. And then you have a plan. Then camping is fun. But if you're the one in charge of all the minutia, then camping is not fun. Yeah. Also, go camping with people who know how to canoe.
Yes.
It's very important.
I was going to say, I like outdoor stuff like that, though. Like, I love whitewater rafting. I haven't done it in a while, but that's a pastime of mine that I love. But after I'm done, I either come back home or I go to a hotel. I'm not camping. And then my wife sometimes will be like, we can go glamping. I'm like, well, then what's the point? Like, why don't we just go stay in a hotel? Like,
exactly.
No, I did see comments that were both. Like, I hate camping, and then people that are like, did you just really mock camping? Like, how do you do that? So,
I mean, if you love it, good for you. I'm not like, I can't stand it. Like, I
good for you. You're wrong.
Yeah, I can't, but I seriously, I can't think of something like I would rather do less, like as far as an activity goes. Like, I'm trying really hard to think of stuff I would rather do less. Like,
I've been on a couple pretty amazing camping trips, though. There's some, and so I
don't believe you.
I'm directly in the middle on the camping.
I think you're a liar.
Speaking of being a liar, one of my other favorite sins was all parents lie, kid. It's called parenting. Because it's so true. So very, very true. What else did you like in the video, Jonathan?
The observation of nothing being in that room. I think I even made this comment on the editing process, but the observation of nothing being in that room with the baby. That was like the creepiest. Like, that might have been the scariest scene in the movie because it looked like he was just like in a crack den or something. Like, there was nothing in that room.
Yep.
It's like the set decorator put no thought into that scene, or they just ran out of money.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but that was creepy as hell. Like, he's just on that like old carpet.
Yeah.
Like, who would take a home video in a situation like that? As a baseball fan and as a fan of Moneyball, not Hatterberg.
That is a deep cut.
Well, and especially, it was so great too because you basically had a running gag of this guy looking like I just forgot his name. Chris, Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris
Pratt.
Yeah. Ooh, you had this whole thing about him being Chris Pratt.
you.
So yeah, you did. So then you had the Chris Pratt character from Moneyball, Scotty Hatterberg or whatever, and so I just thought that was a great, like it was a funny play on words, and you also got to make that kind of like a running gag. So
yeah,
like when you can do stuff like that, it's just evergreen.
One of my favorite other running gags in the video is the running gag of Brandon talking when he's trying to be creepy.
Yeah.
So like one of them was, "Hey there, it's me, Brandon again, just standing here doing nothing. Pretty freaky, right?"
Yeah, that was like when he was like standing at his aunt's house or
because
whatever.
he would just wander into a room and stand there, and we're supposed to be like scared of this little kid standing in the corner just because we know he has powers or whatever. But it's just like, and it was just time and time again where we're supposed to be scared by him doing absolutely nothing.
I mean, the serial killer thing was funny.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get tired of the CSI Miami thing.
We had requests in the comments for Danae to do her serial or her CSI Miami scream.
Nice.
There was actually a push for that to be a T-shirt. Did you see that?
Yeah.
With like the sunglasses on my face and me going, yeah.
Maybe we need to switch to Danae in the videos, like when it does the scream instead.
That's
of
what they were saying.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
That would be great. The subtitle thing was hilarious too. With the what was it? It cut out the fuck.
I'm not following. I'm not sure.
There was a thing about the sin was in the subtitle. Like, She said fuck, but then the subtitle didn't say it.
Right.
And just working this job, I never knew how messed up subtitles were.
They're so messed up. Can we talk about that?
Oh, and CW, by the way, a CW Blu-ray is like the worst. I don't know. Like I remember when we did Supernatural, it wasn't even like close to what they were saying. Like it would be like somebody saying "Have a nice day," and the subtitle would say, "Hey,
it's Thursday. You want to go to the
it's Thursday, and I'm going to the bathroom right now, and then I'm going to go get a donut." You're like, what? Like, what is this?
That does sound like Thursday, to be fair.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was watching Final Destination this weekend, and I had the subtitles on, and there was a character in Final Destination named Claire, and the subtitles every time said clear. Like, every time. Like, they didn't get it right once.
That's great. That's just wonderful.
So I just thought pointing that out was pretty interesting. No offense to people that write subtitles. I'm sure it's a really hard job, and you're doing a great one.
The use of the phrase "garbling your bites," I thought was really funny. The fact that there is a literal Chekhov's gun in this movie, which I thought was
we talked
hilarious.
about that on the Sincast.
Yeah, that was great. That coming after that.
The Sincast was so fun because it's like like the history of CinemaSins, and about 50 minutes in or so is when the guys start telling like some just old fun stories. And the rant that you guys went off on changing sins, like the editing process of removing one from the script and having to redo all the sin counter stuff, and seeing Barrett go off in person and seeing Chris go off in person about the gun, so funny.
Yeah.
I like
so funny.
That was the Chekhov's gun thing that we talked about on the Sincast, and I mentioned it in the Sincast, but I had nothing to do with any of that. I was not reviewing the edit, but I was still included in the emails because I was just it gets everybody, and that was one of my all-time favorite like fly on a wall moments. Like I got to be a part of that, but I didn't have to deal with it.
I will tell you, as the one who was in wrote the sin or whatever, and and as somebody who is still fairly new at my job, and the boss is coming at me like he knows for sure what's right, and I'm 100% sure that he's wrong, but I may have behind the scenes gone to Jeremy and been like, hey man, can you and Chris talk this out, because I don't want to lose my job.
Well, hearing Chris go on was the best. It was so funny. So
I mean, it's just he legit thought they were fucking with him. And
he did.
That's the part. Well, but you guys are being mean.
Yeah, he was like, you guys are ganging up on me, and I'm getting pissed.
Yeah, that's a fun one to listen to.
Yeah, definitely go check that out if you want.
But this was a really good. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, it was just a ton of fun. Another one Jeremy wrote that is just perfect. Is
it's
when,
one of those movies. I was really curious, like what you guys would get out of it, because I mean, like I said, it's so paint by numbers. I hate to keep using that, but that's like the best way to describe this movie. It's so generic, and just you can't really just keep doing sin after sin about how generic it is. So the fact that you guys were able to come up with something was just great. And I think it is one of the more recent videos that has made me laugh the most.
I have to give Jeremy a shout out for the guy looks out the window and the sin is it's a clover field. That slayed me. So this is a really fun one. I had a blast with this one.
I loved it so much.
You thought it was so great.
I was reviewing this video, like I'm going to sound really bougie now, but I was reviewing this video go poolside.
Yeah.
And I know people just thought I was who is that weird guy like sitting in the lounge chair with a laptop and headphones just cackling. So that was if you were at the pool that day at Saratoga Springs, that was me.
Very nice. All right, let's head on to the next section of the podcast. Let's do some keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Ha ha! Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Let's each take a look at the editing process, shall we? Maybe some funny stories, some things that maybe got deleted, some strange research we did. We'll each do one. And Jonathan, why don't you kick us off this week?
Okay, so I just wrote in Riverdale, and I didn't really end up using any of this for a sin, but I knew that Riverdale was, although I was kind of wrong about this, but I thought that Riverdale was not completely off base because, I knew that there was, a lot of people were just like, wow, this is really weird to put Archie in this situation. But I did know that more recently the Archie comics had taken a little bit more of a serious approach. I don't read Archie comics though, with the exception of one series that I'll talk about. But so I had to do some research on it. So in 2010, Archie Comics started this series called Life with Archie, which followed two different timelines. One where he ended up with Betty and one where he ended up with Veronica. And it dealt with more serious issues. And it even ended in 2014 with Archie being killed after he was trying to save a senator from getting assassinated.
Wow.
So for people that think like Riverdale is completely off base, there is like there's some material out there that would kind of give you more of an idea of what they were going for with it.
That's fascinating.
And then in 2013, they even did an Afterlife with Archie, which dealt with a zombie outbreak.
Interesting.
And I read this one, and this was obviously like a side universe or whatever, because like a lot of the characters get killed, they get turned into like I think Jughead gets turned into a zombie like immediately, if I remember correctly. But that is what led to the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comic, which eventually led to them making the show for Netflix, the CW show for Netflix. And then they did in that Life with Archie series, but more recently they did a relaunch where they have modern takes on and different comics for Archie, Jughead, Betty, Veronica, Josie and the Pussycats, and Reggie, who I'm not even positive. I guess Reggie was on there, but yeah, no, he was. He's in Riverdale. I just couldn't think for a second. But some of the more popular characters. So they're actually doing this in the comic book world. They're actually doing all these more like, Archie dealing with like, diseases and death. And it's no longer just kids hanging out in the soda shop.
It's just so weird to me. I can't imagine if like all of a sudden the Peanuts cartoons were about sexually transmitted diseases.
It is weird.
Or
comic books in general have kind of just gotten a little more serious. I mean, a Sincast from a few years ago, I remember Barrett going on a rant about how one thing he has an issue with more current comic book movies is that he feels like the sense of fun is gone. Like they're just all a lot darker. And I think movies in general are kind of like that.
Yeah.
There's certain types of movies you just don't get anymore because I don't know if we're too cynical or whatever it is, but it is interesting that they decided to try to do this with Archie. I guess they were just trying to keep up with the times. And from what I read, it seems like it's doing pretty well as far as like their sales went up in that period and stuff like that. And they even brought back like the Archie Comics line. They used to have a superhero line called Red Circle Comic, and they brought that back in like 2015, but they changed the name to Black Circle Comic because like, that's another, it's one of those, you're just like, good God, like does everything have to be like that serious now?
Yeah.
Like where you can't keep it red, it's got to be black because everything's a Pearl Jam song.
And you also have to kind of wonder if I'm learning about intellectual properties and all that stuff, that whoever owned the Archie comic series, they sold the premise, the characters, the storylines, that it's just being sold, and so people get to reinvent it. Because I remember eating at an Archie comic or an Archie restaurant.
Yeah,
there was a food chain that sold sandwiches, and it was just Archie comics all over the walls. And I just remember thinking like, wow, okay, so they've turned this into a food chain.
It was probably called Pops, right? I mean, was that what it was called? It was probably a like Pop's Diner.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I could be wrong.
So do you know, was it officially licensed or was it just something they did?
It was just called Archie's Sandwich
Shop. Okay, gotcha.
Wow.
Archie's Subs, maybe?
Yeah.
But it was in Springfield for a little while, and they had a sandwich I really liked there, and it was just like, I remember wondering wondering what it takes. And this happens, with other properties too. We're talking, about like Peanuts and things, and you'll see them, obviously their images are used, but maybe the storylines are protected. And it just seems like for the Archie series, it's somebody said, nope, it's all up for grabs. You can turn it into whatever you want to turn it into and reinvent it. And that might be smart. It could be a smart move. Like you're saying, there's popularity and they're just reinventing these characters over and over again. But there is something about nostalgia as well. So,
what would be really fun? To like sin a Peanut special or something. We should do that sometime. That would be...
That might be fun.
That might be really fun.
Wait, why am I laughing so much?
I don't know. I don't know why you're laughing, Jonathan. That's really
we should
strange.
really get that on the books like immediately.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can turn that around
fast.
Like,
let's see how fast
an hour
we can...
ago.
Oh, yes. Yes. Anything else?
No, that was really all the only really research thing I did, because I sadly knew the show really well. So
you're fine.
I was able to pull stuff from my own head.
I'll go next with my keeping tabs. I was going to talk about the fact that both Danae and I wrote sins for the gold outfit that Judy was wearing in the Friends episode, because it was so ostentatious. Like it was incredibly gaudy. So mine basically said she was dressing like a Werther's candy for Halloween. But I cut that in favor of Danae's because her Mount Olympus sin was so much better. But I decided to go with the research I did on things that have the initials BB, since Brightburn, Brandon Breyer, she calls him Baby Boy.
We didn't even talk about that sin. I'm sorry. I like that one.
I had a lot of fun thinking of, multiple BB things and did some research. It is a very common initial, BB. Like if you do like the search for people with the initials BB, Bridget Bardot, Beau Bridges, Benjamin Bratt. Like, I mean, it just, there's literally a
Baby Beluga,
12-page list of like Bob Barker, Blake Bortles, Barbara Bush, Bob Balaban, Bill Burr, Benjamin Button, Boris Becker. It's crazy how many there are. And then you've got all the bands, I think I mentioned Beastie Boys and some
Bobby
of those
Brown.
things. Yeah, Bobby Brown is another one. You've got
body parts like boobies.
Well, I was going to go with Backstreet Boys, but
sorry.
But boobies, sure, if you want to. I don't know. It was really surprising to me how many things had that initial, for BB, things like Big Brother. You could talk about Bob's Burgers.
Belly buttons.
That's right.
These
Bad
are all
Boys,
one word still.
Best Buy, Bugs Bunny, Big Bird.
Good God.
And so what was interesting is originally I had found all this stuff and I was like going to do like a 3-paragraph sin with like Bilbo Baggins and Big Ben and bulletin boards and broadband internet, all this stuff, and decided eventually that maybe simpler is better, and so just kind of cut it down to the baked beans on a Bunsen burner with Beastie Boys. So anyways, just BB is a pretty common one.
Yeah.
So.
Now do AA.
AA Milne.
AA batteries. Wait.
Danae, what is your keeping tabs?
The one that I didn't manage to get into, what I've already talked about because I break rules. On Friends, I looked up the history of the thong.
Yeah,
because
nice.
there's a moment that we didn't actually sin it, and it wasn't in the episode, like we did in the video on YouTube. It was no, it was.
Yeah, we definitely sin it.
But yeah. Sorry, forgot about that.
No.
But he says it's a feat of engineering. That
part isn't in the video, right?
And that really. Then I looked up engineering. I'm like, is a piece of fabric really a feat of engineering?
Yeah. What is he talking about in that instance? You had written a sin about that, hadn't you?
Yes. Yeah. It was cut.
Do you want to read it now?
No,
I think you should read it now.
I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
But I went on this whole like search of the history of the thong and trying to figure out like if I could sin engineering in a a snarky way or a fun way or whatever. I really couldn't come up with something that was just more than just being like, is it really a feat of engineering? Besides like giving some examples of what engineering was.
Right. Yeah.
But I did find it interesting to learn a little bit about the history of the thong.
Tell us all about the thong.
The thong's origin,
also known as flip flops.
Yeah, depending on what part.
Oh wait, are we talking about the underwear?
This is underwear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I shouldn't.
My mind always goes to shoes before underwear.
I know because you're so Australian.
Yeah.
So there's two kinds of versions of the history of it. There's like the genuine origin of this piece of cloth, which is basically the beginning of time. You're talking about sub-Saharan Africa, where it's just freaking hot and you don't want to wear a lot of clothing, but you want to cover your bits. So the loincloth considered one of those.
Right.
But then for most of us, the history of the thong really kind of kicks off after the 1939 World Fair, where there were these burlesque dancers, like these dancers that were nude dancers. And the mayor at the time was like, no, you have to wear clothes. So essentially the G-string was created sort of in the moment to technically cover the women with as little as possible so that they could still dance at the World's Fair.
Right.
And that's kind of the more accepted.
Did they also invent the nipple tassels at that moment?
You know, I didn't research that.
All right. Because it seems to serve the same purpose.
Didn't research
It's like
that.
all of a sudden you're not naked because you've got a little pasty on your nipples.
No, I mean, maybe you would have gone in that direction. I didn't. I sucked the thong thing.
I can be certain to say I would have gone in that direction. Yes.
It was really interesting too to read. Like there's just blogs on the thong and either how ridiculous it is or how great it is because it doesn't show lines and lines. Who
I thought
cares
that's
about
what it was
lines?
about. I thought it was a fashion thing.
Well, it is now. It is considered more of a fashion thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you wear underwear and skin tight clothes, then there is the underwear line, and if you don't want your
And honestly, who
underwear
cares?
line showing,
Yeah.
then you wear a thong.
Right.
But then there's people that are like, it's just butt floss. It's so gross. And so
My wife has always stated that if you are a female that has back, or it has a well-rounded derriere, I guess, it's going up there, regardless of what kind of underwear you wear. So you might as well wear the one with the least material. That's always been my wife's approach.
That's amazing.
So there's another example of why some women might wear them.
So yeah,
Wow.
at some point though, in these keeping tabs, you realize that you don't need to be looking at this anymore, and that's when it becomes a bunny trail. There's a moment where I veered from learning about a feat of engineering and how it relates to a thong and writing a sin for the script to, oh, this is really interesting. So
Yeah.
I kind of have to pull back my curiosity, but that was one of the
I would
things.
say if I had to research the origins of the thong, it probably would take me longer than expected as well. Maybe for different reasons. I don't know. I'm just saying.
You're getting a bad reputation for this very reason.
That's why I'm cutting that out. All right. We ready to move on to the comment section?
Let's do it.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Let's each pick a comment or two, or 12 if you're Danae, to respond to from the week's videos. We'll do some general feedback in here as well. How many do you have this week, Danae? That's always the question we ask right at the beginning.
I have 2.
Good. You kept it down to 2.
Yeah.
Why don't you do one of yours, and then Jonathan and I will go, and then you can do your other one.
Okay, so this one comes from VolKT72 on Discord. Zombie apocalypse of the Sins team. This is more of a question for us, but it's also a comment.
No, that's fine. That's great.
Who survives the longest, and what snack item would you hunt down until they're all gone? We know Danae's is tots. So
The tots
I
would
will
go
die.
quickly.
I would die first. I mean, I'm not even gonna act like
Do you
that.
think so?
No. There's way more meat on my bones.
You'd be gone
I'd
first.
be gone.
Well,
Yeah.
Aaron would probably throw me towards them, so which is fair. Survival of the fittest.
I think Jeremy
no, I would
survives.
go.
The only way I survive longer than you guys is if they don't find my house. You know what I mean? Like, that's because I'm always inside. Maybe that gives me a better chance of not being outside when it happens.
Maybe.
I should also mention right here, if we're going to treat the zombie apocalypse as an authentic thing, I think it's one of the most ridiculous apocalypses we've ever come up with. Because the way zombies are typically portrayed, I don't think we would have any problem putting that apocalypse down. Like, it's just...
Unless you're an idiot.
Yeah, I don't understand how zombies as they're portrayed are going to be a problem. If zombies happen, we'll take care of them quickly. Like, we'll figure that stuff out. So I don't think any of us die. But if for some reason they're fast and smart and whatever, I think I'm gone pretty quickly. I think Barrett survives the longest.
There you go.
That's who I put my money on.
I think I go first because I would try to be saving the zombies.
You would.
I'd be like, you can still turn back. You have a choice. You're really human and there's some...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if I did survive, they're not wrong. Tots would be my...
Yeah, that's a tough one. Those are going to go away fast. Mine are going to last longer. I'm going to clear the shelves of Fig Newtons. I think we know that. And I'm going to have a bunch of Fig Newtons. That'd be my snack. What about you, Jonathan?
What would my snack be?
Sure.
I mean, well, but they would. I guess you'd have to pick something that like would last a while, because like like bananas really aren't going to work for vegans, probably.
Nope.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe like some cookies or something. I'm kind of a cookie person if I do go that route. So some form of cookie.
There you go.
Very nice. Why don't you go next, Jonathan? What do you got?
So there was one where, okay, see, so Jokus X6 said, wow, about Riverdale. Wow, Jeremy openly hates the CW, not that I differ. And then then that got some replies, and one of them was by Roguish Paladin, said, it's not meant for him, you, or me. It's meant for a certain teen early 20s demographic, which is looking for melodrama with modern accountments, so it's not that relatable. There's always a show like this on TV, whether it be 90210, The OC, Buffy, etc. The execution may be better or worse in some cases, but don't mistake it not being enjoyable to us as a hallmark of not being good. We're not equipped to judge. But like, I think I've already talked about this. I don't think the CW is meant for me, but I tend to watch everything on it and enjoy it quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like that just struck me as weird because I'm like, I think that like, even if it's not necessarily for us as far as the subject matter goes, if it's geared more towards high school, that's the demographic, or that's the type of characters that are on the show, it can still be smart, and it can still, like, I think Buffy's a great example of a movie that went beyond maybe the demographic it was going for, because I mean, there's 65-year-old people that talk about, Buffy's one of the most beloved shows now,
right?
All these years later. I think the OC is a good example too. I think the OC was a lot smarter than a lot of people give it credit for. So I don't know. I mean, and also I kind of thought about this because I think this is still a good time to point out that like the narrator doesn't like anything. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say that. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that's our opinion.
Right. Yeah.
But to be fair, I don't know that Jeremy would like the CW. I don't know that Jeremy's watched a CW show. So maybe this person's right. I don't know. But I just think it's interesting how people try to figure out whether we like stuff or not. And I guess sometimes you can, but I think most of us try to just write it like that this is something that the narrator doesn't like. So even if it's something we love, we're still probably just going to send a bunch of dumb shit on it.
Yeah. My first comment comes from Riverdale, and I say first because we already talked about this, but I wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
This is from Marcus on Riverdale. Says two things. Number one, this is easily one of your best TV Sins videos, so cool. Congrats on that, guys.
Thanks.
And number two, if Danae didn't write on this, she sure is a great influence on you guys, because no way the black bra sheer blouse sin or fat shaming a skinny girl eating a salad happens without her.
Aww.
And I guess I would just say about that, you're absolutely right. I think she is a great influence, and she gives us more permission to write from a female perspective, which is really interesting, because I've had a couple times I've written a scene from a female perspective, knowing that Danae is on the writing team, and that, that there's kind of a permission there that somebody who is a female will be looking that over and say, actually, that's probably not quite right, or here's what makes it better. So it kind of gives us permission to be influenced that way and to kind of branch out. So it's
agree,
because otherwise you're hesitant to write from someone else's perspective, but in this case, it gives you permission to do it. So I wanted to mention that. But the one I wanted to land on was from Friends. Adam H says, was kind of disappointed that for the end segment, when showing past Phoebe's arm coming off, that you didn't dub over "'Tis just a scratch." And the reason I bring this up is because, first of all, it's in the comments a bunch. And I also bring it up because we actually did do an outtake with that. It just got moved to the previously on for the next video. And sometimes that will happen. So I thought it was kind of one of those funny examples where it was like, I'm screaming at the comments, but we did that.
We should put that before a Peanuts video.
Yeah, if we were to do one. If we were to do one really quick. If we were to go back in time and have one ready for about an hour ago. Yeah, that's what we should do. What about you, Danae?
Mine were from Friends, and they are about the Mr. Bean Did It Better, which we've already mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
And the other ones that I kind of had written down, you guys already covered.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, and we did mention this, but I will mention again since we're talking about it. There was a bunch of thanking us for putting the Luke Perry mention in the Riverdale script. And so, that guy's got a lot of love. That's good. That makes me happy.
Yeah, that was a smart decision there. Good one, Jonathan.
Let's move to the feedback from you this week. This comes from Laura, and I found this really fascinating. I wondered if we wanted to talk about it a little bit. She says, this isn't a criticism per se, more of a general observation, but I couldn't help but notice when you guys were talking about period shaming during the last podcast, Danae, and then in parenthesis, she says, the only one of you to have actually experienced it, started all her statements with, I think, I feel, or a general, in my opinion, my experience, whereas the guys seem totally comfortable with a, this is how it should be, this is absolutely only the right way. As a woman who worked for an engineering firm and was frequently the only woman or one of the small number of women in meetings, it's really common for men to present opinions as facts, whereas women will present known facts with an I think might be, as we're conditioned not to be rude or seem to be forceful. Again, this is not a criticism of the podcast or any of the individuals involved, just an observation of something I see across society as a whole. This was a particularly nice example when you have a group of men and one woman discussing periods. Sorry, just had to point it out. Danae, I wanted to go to you first because we actually got quite a bit of period feedback from our discussion.
Which is a little surprising, but cool.
Well, you know, it's kind of surprising, but it's also kind of not, because in general, when you talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about, people are ready. They're ready. Oh, here's an avenue I can talk about this. So, but anyways.
Welcome to the new segment where we talk periods.
Well, Danae.
Body functions in general, we tend to really be open to. No,
what did you think about this response?
I really loved it for two reasons. I always say that. One, I didn't realize I did that, and I didn't realize you guys did that. So it was really interesting perspective.
And I haven't gone back and listened. But I would be very curious to go back and listen.
I wasn't there, so
my confidence in the fact of cycling to the moon, I was very confident about that, and I was wrong. So it's really funny because I did have confidence at one point in time and did state facts, but they were totally, I guess, defunct.
Well, let's be fair. There's plenty we don't know about plenty of things, right?
I know, but I'm really upset that I am not a moon fairy. So no, I genuinely, and also I liked,
and also cycling to other women is apparently, some studies have been shown that it's not as certain that that's a real thing either.
It's not something that is for sure to happen, but it does happen.
The anecdotal evidence, man, there's so much of it.
It's really interesting.
It is fascinating to think about those things.
It's kind of like there's studies that are like coffee is good for you, coffee is bad for you, coffee is good for you, coffee is bad for you. So
I think what's important to remember is
that I have actual personal experience in my period changing when I'm around another woman.
I mean, that's fine.
That's my personal experience.
That's fine, but anecdotal experience is not scientific proof. But here's the thing to remember. Scientific proof is also by humans who are faulty as well. So that's why it's so important for us to do what this person is talking about and to keep things in the uncertain area, right? Where it's like, I'm pretty sure it's this way, or I feel this way, as opposed to this is the way it is. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that I love, first of all, Laura, you did spell my name right, so thank you for that. That was super nice. But I don't know that I would ever really try to change my approach, because when I'm thinking about communicating, especially when there's a question like, hey, Danae, you're the one that has boobs and a vagina. Why don't you answer this question?
Right, yeah.
I always feel like it's important for me to say, I don't speak for everybody, because I know 100% that my experience is different than other people. And so I don't feel like I want to step to the microphone as like the great female communicator.
Right.
So I know that my intention when I'm talking is to not be it's not about like, I was wondering if it was about confidence. I was wondering if it was about fear, like if I speak this way psychologically, because it was just a really interesting observation that was made. So it's changed how I am thinking about talking even in this episode, not in a bad way, but more an awareness of how culture might be obviously have impacted me as a communicator. But one of the things that I really love is I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I love listening to women who are incredibly confident. They, say what they mean. They'll apologize if they get something wrong and it's like a big deal. But otherwise, they're just like they're just saying whatever they're saying and not worrying about how it's going to be impacting everything. I really am attracted to that kind of strength. And
well, good news, you took a DNA test and you are 100% that person. So
I'm working on it. And it is interesting as somebody who has now more than ever a really broad audience in a new way. I mean, I've been in radio before.
That wasn't a pun, was it?
No.
Broad audience.
Oh my God, no. I didn't mean to do that. And to have the kind of like people who are responding to what I have to say and how I say it. So, this is going to be an interesting wild ride. I loved the observation a ton though. So I'm glad that you wrote in.
Yeah, I love hearing this kind of stuff. And I love being checked on on my own stuff, like my own instincts to speak in those ways. And I, for me, I always operate from a perspective of fallibility. I mean, if you know me, I often talk about how I don't know things because I'm a human being, and so are you. And so,
except for definitions of words, you know those really well.
Well,
and you're not smart, so.
And I'm really dumb. But actually, the opposite. I'm also comfortable saying I am intelligent. Like I do study. I do have a big vocabulary. Like I'm not scared to talk about what I'm good at, as well as not scared to talk about the fact that I'm also very fallible.
That is a super interesting thing to say, because I think there are a lot of people that suffer from that are afraid to admit that they actually are smart, because I had that issue for the longest time. My wife actually was the one that was just like, you are clearly intelligent. Like I would not have married a dumbass, like, I mean, it was almost like, but then you like actually start thinking about things. You're like, I have education. You just start realizing, no, I am
like almost like you have permission to,
I am smarter than the average
smart.
Bear. Like there's nothing wrong with thinking that about yourself.
I really did relate to, Laura, to your perspective about, being in meetings with, and, all males. And I literally having just come off of staff meeting with all the CinemaSins guys. And these are guys that are very respectful. But I still very much took a more demure approach to some things. But that was specifically because I'm the new person and I don't want to make assumptions about the directions that as a whole we should be taking. But I had an opportunity to take the lead on several things, and the guys were just really open to it. So for me, I had that both experience of being in the driver's seat for some of it, and then also how I'm approaching my conversations and almost being apologetic about having really strong opinions, because I do have experience in what we're, the things that are going on kind of behind the scenes with promotions and events and things like that. I should not be apologetic in my knowledge, but I do approach it kind of from a sensitivity standpoint. Well, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe I shouldn't.
I felt like after we were done last week, like Danae owned me all of a sudden. It was a really weird. Like I made a joke, like I'm gonna have to, like my wife's gonna be like, hey, you want to go out to eat? Like I gotta check with Danae and see if I'm allowed to do that. If is that on my schedule? Because there were like all these schedules being created and stuff.
Yeah, and I've kind of been given permission to be like, okay, let's try to keep everything kind of like going. And so I am sort of stepping into this.
Going a little behind the scenes. It wasn't to me because I had nothing to do with the script, but I saw you send out that thing about like, hey, did you guys have a good time writing this script this weekend or something like that? I'm like,
yeah.
How does she know what we're doing?
I actually am helping with the schedule. So it was a really cool perspective of just for me as a woman to look at my journey of how I communicate and my confidence level, and maybe be a little bit less afraid of being confident, but at the same time be okay with how I approach conversation.
I have to say, a lot of it comes down to the misunderstanding that the opposite of humility is confidence. They can exist together. Mm-hmm. You can be both humble and confident, because humility isn't saying you're bad at stuff. That's false humility, right? Humility is saying that you're good at stuff, but it doesn't make you any better than anybody else. When I say I know I have a certain level of intelligence, that doesn't make me any better than anybody, any more valuable, any better than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To me, that's the understanding of humility that I try to live my life with. And honestly, I'm being called on my humility here a little bit, I think, because I'm saying things in a way that make it seem like I know better than someone. That may not be true, but at the same time, I think it's valuable to have confidence and humility exist together. So.
And I love that we can have these kinds of conversations, and that all comes from a comment that was sent in for feedback. Laura, you wrote a really great message. It wasn't something that felt, like you said in your message, it wasn't like a judgy thing. It was more of an observation that opens up these kinds of conversations. And so we just invite, if you guys have feedback for anything that we talk about on the show, whether it is body related or me getting salmonella and questioning whether I really got it or not.
Laura is clearly a very intelligent person.
Yeah. If there's one topic that I should convey humility about, it is period. So I apologize if I didn't convey enough humility.
You know what? I did have a thought about that though. And my what I've noticed and observed is like when we're talking about like an imbalance of power or just things like that, I feel like you guys are kind of coming to the defense of how it should be. And so your confidence is just like, no, it shouldn't be this way, because you're passionate about change and not that you know better. So I've never really picked up that you guys, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Because I feel like if I say something like, periods are gross and we get judged for that, and you guys are like, it shouldn't be that way. It's not like a because we know better. It's a because you care. So that's how I've interpreted it so far.
And I'd also like to just point out, for no reason whatsoever, I wasn't there. So, so this needs to go to Creasy.
That's right.
Poor Creasy. Oh, gosh. That's so funny.
All right. Let's move on to our final section. Let's talk a little bit beyond the sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I have games to talk about. I guess I'm going first.
Yay, go. Yay.
What? Danae's going to talk about a mobile game because she has Play Pass now? By the way, I canceled my Play Pass.
Did you really?
Yeah, already. It's not going to be worth it for me. I just don't play enough mobile games. Even though it's only $2 a month, I'm just like, I'll save that money and spend it on a mobile game occasionally.
Go get just get a Pepsi or something. Whatever you like to spend $2 on.
Well, I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Yeah.
I did want to give an update. I talked about a game a while back called AFK Arena, and I finally gave up on it. So my cycle of that game has come to an end. If anyone else has tried it out and you really are enjoying it.
What is AFK Arena,
do your mobile game cycles cycle with the moon? Or
I hope so, because I really, truly do want a part of me to still be a moon fairy somehow. AFK Arena was kind of where you have like a team of people who are fighting another team of people, and you can buff up their
It sounded very sporty, so I was just curious.
It's based on the idea that while you're away from the game, or AFK, away from keyboard, that your characters are still fighting and getting coin for you. Because oftentimes in these games, like, you have to go into these dungeons and fight bosses, and then you get your loot. This one acquires loot while you're gone from the game, which is one of the appeals of it. And I actually played this game daily for several months until I realized that I had kind of got to the point where, unless I wanted to start buying stuff, I really wasn't going to advance quickly. And that, I know it's kind of lame, but I didn't know where it was going to go for me. And I sort of felt like I had realized all of the potential of this game. And so I just went ahead and deleted it. So I just wanted to give that update that I did have an end cycle for me. But the game that I'm into now is one that I think that Aaron, you might like, which now that you don't have the pass, you probably don't want to get it because it does cost a little bit of money, but it's called Mini Metro.
Okay.
Have you heard of this one yet?
It sounds to me like one of those sim games where, and in this case, where you have to build a subway system for a city.
Yes.
And that sounds horrible. I can't imagine something that sounds more like a waste of my time than trying to design a metro system.
I thought it was like a version of the Eddie Murphy movie Metro with short people.
Nice.
That's funny. No, this is like it's a puzzle strategy game.
Okay, so it's not a sim game. It's actually puzzle.
Okay,
it's
this sounds exactly what Aaron would like.
Yes, I do love puzzle games.
And it's all about efficiency.
Oh, yes.
I know. So
is this game just called For Aaron Dicer?
No, that one's Paperclip.
I kind of found, and I'm super curious. So if you decide to try it out, it started to stress me out on a big time level.
Ooh.
And there was a little bit of like gameplay that was confusing. There is a tutorial. I highly recommend the tutorial before you just jump in and play, unless you don't care if you jack up a game several times like I did. Essentially, you start off on this. The graphics of it are really clean and simple to follow. You're looking at, like, let's say, a white background, and then there's like a circle, a square, and a triangle. And suddenly beside the circle is a triangle. So now you need to connect the circle to the triangle because somebody wants to get from the circle to the triangle.
Okay.
And so you click and drag your finger. Now you've created a connection between the two of them. And then, similarly, there's another symbol shows up someplace, and you're just essentially connecting a metro system, and you can stay on one color. So, like, let's say that the line that you drew from the point A to point B is red. Well, then you can just keep drawing that red line to the next one, and then
I'm going to be honest, I'm lost.
I know it's
hard to. It's probably one of those things when you play it.
Let me just say
like
this.
Tutorial
let me pause
it
and
out.
say it. You can make a loop with one color, or you can add in multiple trains, and you can, like, a red car and a blue car or whatever, and then you can do tunnels. And so you're just sort of like adding a complexity to the route that a metro would take to pick up passengers and drop them off at these different points. But it grows and grows and grows. There's more and more and more passengers.
So it's not level based. It is growth based.
It's growth based, and it's kind of
that is kind of more of a sim.
I was going to say that sounds like Sims.
It's like the time. Okay, now it's like the morning time, so there's more people that are in transit.
Yeah.
And so then you'll have like this backup at one of the points, and so you have to get a train car there faster.
Yeah, you're definitely talking me out of this.
You just kind of leveled up a little bit, so you get a train car. I feel like I'm doing it a disservice. But if you have an efficiency brain, you can kind of you can change the routes. You can add different stops. You can kind of move the train cars around to sort of figure out, oh, there's more of a backup over here at 2:00 in the afternoon. So
for you, I will get this and I'll report back to you.
How about you don't get it? You just play it on my phone, so you don't have to.
Well, I still have Play Pass for like another week.
Okay. So pick it up, try it out. Let me know what you think. It's called Mini Metro. If you like games that start off slow and then build in their quickness and require you to kind of think on your feet in a really interesting way, I recommend it. It stresses me out the busier things get.
There's like a slow burn type of game. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, he's gone now.
I'm not a gamer, so no, I'm never going to become a gamer. I mean, I might play games with my daughter occasionally, and I like board games if that counts.
This game has been out since 2014 in different formats. It's won some awards, which is kind of nice to see also. It gets a 10 out of 10 on Steam, a 4.7 out of 5 on Google Play, and a 4.9 out of 5 on Apple Store. And I think it's because of how they build the game. And so that's what I recommend. I apologize if I didn't explain it very well.
No, it's cool. I mean, if it's anything like the capitalist adventure communist games, those are the ones that speak to my efficiency brain the most, where it's like, I don't have to have the game on all the time, but I can check in with it and adapt the systems.
This is one where you kind of like, you play it for a while, and then eventually it gets to the point where you have so many people backed up at a train station that they get mad and your game is over. So, and then you just need to put it down. It's not something where you're building it and it's lasting for a long time.
It doesn't sound like something I'd like.
Okay.
So 2014 was the year Mini Metro was invented, and Archie was shot and killed while trying to save a senator from getting assassinated. So it's a pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting year.
Yeah.
Random connections. What do you got, Jonathan?
So this came out on Netflix, I believe, in September, but I'm finally just getting around to watching it. And I'm about 4 episodes in. It's the show Unbelievable. Have you watched this, Aaron?
I haven't gotten around to it. I've heard really good things. What did you think?
It's pretty unbelievable. I'm sorry I had to do that. No, it's really good. It's based on a 2000. For those who don't know about it, it's a mini series. It stars Toni Collette and Merritt Weaver play two female detectives that, I don't know why I'd say female, but two detectives that
it becomes valuable in the plot because
that's true.
it's dealing with disbelieving a victim and how because this is based on a true story that I heard on This American Life.
It's a 2015 news article called "An Unbelievable Story of Rape." A woman, a teenager actually, in where was that? I thought I had that written down. Oh, Linwood, Washington, claimed that a person broke into her house one night and raped her, and this was two male detectives that were investigating this case, and they started not believing things she was saying because there was just her story kept changing. And
to be fair, the people in her life didn't believe her either because she didn't. It's kind of like what we were talking about with the Malcolm Gladwell thing, where we don't believe people because of their facial reactions don't match up and the nonverbals aren't matching up to our brain. So it's kind of that situation.
Exactly. And then eventually she actually said that she made it up. And then there's another rape that happens. They find out there's a serial rapist in Colorado that the detective played by Merritt Weaver in the show, begins investigating. And I don't really want to say anything else because then you start finding out that things might not be what they seem and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's a really interesting show, and the acting is top notch. Caitlin Dever from Booksmart, and
I believe
and
it's
also,
Deaver.
Deaver, you're correct. It is Deaver, and that Tim Allen show that you went to a live audience.
She's great, by the way. I love her.
She is awesome. She's excellent in Booksmart. She's really good in this. She plays the initial victim that may or may not be lying. Toni Collette plays one of the detectives. Merritt Weaver plays the other one, as I already said. Merritt Weaver, you've probably seen in a lot of TV. She's in Walking Dead, Nurse Jackie, New Girl. And then Danielle McDonald plays the other rape victim. She was recently in the movie Dumpling with Danae's favorite actress, Jennifer Aniston. But yeah, no, it's super interesting. I'm really into it. Like I said, I've got a couple episodes left. I can't remember. I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes, so I've still got 2 or 3 left. But it's just really, really well done. It's really well written. It's a really interesting story. I knew nothing about it. If you don't know anything about it, I suggest suggest going into it not knowing anything, and then you can read up about it afterwards if you want, because there is a lot of twist and turn. I will say, I've heard reviews of this from women that were sexual assault victims. And I did want to point out that I have heard when they've reviewed it, they have said that the first episode can be triggering.
Yeah, I've actually heard that too.
Yeah, they've also said it's totally worth watching if you can get, if you can get through that. I mean, the first episode, I mean, there is a lot going on. I typically don't watch things revolving around rape, not from a personal experience or anything, but that's just a subject matter I just don't typically enjoy.
It's tough to engage with. Yeah, it's
engaging with. And it's very hard to do it, and it's very hard to have that as a subject matter and work for me. So, but this just got so much praise, and I love Toni Collette. I mean, Toni Collette is just like, I heard somebody the other day said they thought Toni Collette was going to be like Meryl Streep at the Oscars, and she was just going to keep getting nominated for stuff, and I'm all for that.
She's great.
She's kind of coming to her own. I mean, she's always been good, but it just seems like recently she's just been killing it with the decisions she's been making and whatnot. So, it's a high recommend for me, without having seen the last couple episodes.
Very nice. Well, I'm going to head to Netflix as well for a TV series that just dropped a couple days ago. It's called Living with Yourself. It stars Paul Rudd as well as Paul Rudd, playing two different versions of himself, and it is so good. It's one of my favorite things I've seen recently. Part of this is because I am in love with Paul Rudd. I think he's amazing. I just want to be his friend and hang out with him forever. I love his sense of humor. He also gives a great performance in this. He's playing two different versions of himself. The story involves cloning, and I'm not going to give away in what way it involves cloning because there's some interesting story turns that happen with it. But what's fascinating about this show for me, beyond how much fun it is to watch him in this situation, is how meaningful this show is. It really is both an interesting sci-fi premise, kind of Black Mirror-ish look at, cloning that happens, but it is also a metaphor about marriage or long-term relationships, even, let's say, where when you're in a long-term relationship after, you both evolve, you change, you grow, you're almost different people 15 years into a long-term relationship than you were when you started that relationship. And so it kind of wrestles with that in a really interesting metaphorical way. And when you start to see it in that light, some of the choices the show makes are just brilliant and really meaningful. Even the way the show ends, I just found really heartwarming and meaningful. It'd be weird that I called it heartwarming once you've seen the show, but it's fascinating to me. So I enjoyed all 8 episodes. They're quick episodes of varying lengths between 20 and 40 minutes. It's probably similar to watching a very long movie to watch the entire season. And I would highly recommend it. I think it's great work by everybody involved.
You mentioned that the time. I think it's interesting that Netflix does that now, because when Netflix started doing TV series, they clearly were doing it like with almost the possibility that they would go to a syndication.
Right.
Because those early seasons of House of Cards, like every episode was like 50 minutes, Right. They've really gotten away from that though. And Mindhunter, I noticed, an episode could be an hour and 15 minutes. It could be 42. And I really like that it's more based on what they have to say in that episode versus we have to get to a certain time limit like you do on network television.
Yep.
So I don't know. That just, when you said that was something that's been popping in my head recently that I highly commend them for. I'm really excited about watching this. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really glad. It's definitely on my list.
I'm excited.
I love Paul Rudd.
I'm excited for whoever watches it to chat with about it, because it's one of those things that, in fact, it was one of those things where I watched it just because I like Paul Rudd. And I was like, oh, this is good. And then by the 3rd episode, I was like, oh no, this isn't good. This is good. And it's like where you have that moment.
And that's good to know, because to be fair, I love Paul Rudd too, but I mean, not everything he makes is very good. So
right.
If he and I don't, so if he's in something that's this good, that makes me even more excited. So looking forward to it.
And just remember, with all the appropriate humility I can muster, I could be completely wrong about
well, I will say,
a
couple podcasts
Nicely
I listened
done.
to didn't have really nice things to say about it. They didn't hate it, but they didn't praise it like you were, definitely. So it's really good to hear from you.
Their perspective is just as valuable as mine. So
funny. now you're coming across as
they're
patronizing.
dumb, and you're not. So.
That's right. No, I mean that. I seriously mean that. I know it came across as patronizing, but I meant it.
You and Jeremy were having that conversation on Twitter where Jeremy said that really nice thing, actually about all of us, but he was talking about it was really nice to be able to like talk to you about movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally disagree.
I almost tweeted out a joke, but it was such a nice conversation. I wanted to leave it alone, but I almost tweeted out, yeah, my favorite part is when I disagree with Aaron and he tells me, well, not everyone's right all the time. which you have, to be fair, actually said to me before. Completely joking. But
yeah, it's one of my favorite lines is to say, well, you're allowed to be wrong every once in a while.
But I chose not to tweet it because it was just such a beautiful conversation.
Well,
and you don't see those enough on Twitter, so I didn't even want to be snarky. Like I just
Thanks
wanted
for
to
not ruining the moment.
I wanted to let it be what it was.
Nice.
Very nice.
So.
Well, there it is. That's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week, guys. Don't forget to make sure you are subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I am at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
That's DENEE. Says. I was trying something new and it didn't work very well. Apologize.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
He's going to go poop. He's going to go poop around the house. I'd recommend going directly to the bathroom. That's just been my experience. Did I tell you about whenever my realtor came out to the house and she walked back into the bathroom and I was burning some Nag Champa incense?
Some what's-a-what's-ins?
It's the scent is Nag Champa. It's like a real potent, earthy, hippie scent, right?
Nag Champa.
And she's like, "Oh, you're burning incense." And I said, "Yeah, I pooped right before you got here." So I was trying to clear the smell. And she said, "Well, I was going to guess you either had to go to the bathroom or you were smoking pot." A
pot was involved one way or the other.
Yes. A porcelain one.
Or a ganja one.
Ganja one. Ganja one.
Ganja ones. I love those Star Wars characters.
Me too.
The Ganja ones are great.
Are you going to get all the stuff that comes with a Pixel? I want to get a Pixel so bad. But then I was reading some stuff on Twitter and there were some people who hate it. And I'm like, yeah, I should hate it too.
Nobody has it yet. How can people hate it? It hasn't even arrived yet.
Well, because they're reading about like what it does and does not come with and they're drawing conclusions based on
it
that.
Doesn't come with any kind of like headphone adapter or anything like that.
Yeah, that's been a complaint.
Which is fine for me. I've been off the plug-in headphones for a while. I've loved having Bluetooth headphones for several years.
You use Bluetooth headphones and I use Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah, I'm not going to get the expensive ones that they have though, like the $170 ones.
Okay.
Because as sexy as they are, I don't need them. And I kind of like having headphones that I can wear around my neck, as opposed to the ones that are like the size of a dime and can fall down sewer grates.
Yeah, because there's so many sewer grates around you since you never leave the house.
Yes. The way the new ones that Google's doing have the real world audio that it lets in a little bit of. And it also doesn't give you that closed off like vacuum seal feeling when you put headphones in because of that. That sounds really cool to me, but not worth an extra $120. Like I can find really nice Bluetooth headphones for $40.
I paid $186 for mine.
I just can't, like, I can't justify that. I was trying to think what they would have to do for me to be able to justify almost $200 for headphones.
Yeah, it would need to like, and then and then after that, you know.
The other big negative of going that direction for me is I don't have a purse. And like when you have
the pill box,
the little pill box, the charger that you have to put them in, like it's just another thing I have to figure out how to put in my pockets.
Right.
Or I've been eliminating things from my pockets. Like I can wear my headphones around my neck. I like that. That's really simple.
Don't you have extra skin? You could just make a little skin flap pocket.
So what kind of comment is that? Don't you have extra skin? Yes, Danae, I do. I've been losing weight. I have a lot of extra skin.
And that's why I bring it up. You talk about it, so it's not like it's unknown.
It's just funny.
Plus, you really love the idea of like body enhancement. So why not have like...
Well, I'd have to have some kind of surgery to turn my extra skin...
A belly pack.
Sure, but I'd have to have surgery to have,
You do it.
A cosmetic surgeon turned
right.
part of my belly skin
Okay, this just turns
into
super
a pocket.
gross. You're right. That's a really bad idea.
It is a horrible idea.
I was thinking more like a tuck.
Just
like
tuck it under a roll somewhere.
Yeah, just like that.
Do you do that? Do you do that with your breast? Do you tuck stuff under your breast for carrying them?
Yes.
Is that where your headphones are now?
Yeah. Since gaining mom boob, I do put stuff in my bra now. And I lost my keys once, and they were in my bra, and I couldn't feel it. It's crazy how you just don't know. I've put debit cards, phone. I mean, I found snacks in there multiple times that just fell down.
Accidental snacks. Yeah.
Not purposeful.
Yes.
Like, I'll put this here and warm it up for later.
Right, yeah. Kind of thing going around about the person who died, and they couldn't figure out, this obese person, why they died, and found out a sandwich had gotten lodged underneath one of the rolls.
Stop
and had eaten away at their skin.
Oh my God. This went like Halloween Horror Story. And
It's just
fault.
like an urban legend
it's
kind of thing.
Fault,
but you went there.
Anyway, I hope you find a place to put those pills.
I hear the phone a-ringing.
It's ringing all the time.
I can hear you guys good. I have... Oh my God, that scared the crap out of me.
Oh, really? Did it sound scary?
Well,
like
he did.
No,
Almost...
it was just a sound I was not expecting. So.
Yes,
he
it's my whistle hum.
He did once get eaten by a vacuum cleaner, so you can understand how a sound like that would scare
I assumed
him.
that was Aaron.
Last night we had tornadoes. Like from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you guys are good, right? It was not.
Yeah, but we were literally packed into our
studio,
our closet, our storage closet. We've all got stories.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time there was a tornado warning, and my parents weren't there, so we were being babysat by my aunt. She was scared, so I was scared. She tried to make it fun, and so it was everybody. Grab your pillows and blankets.
Did you sing a Mary Poppins song?
Nope. Grab your pillows and blankets and let's go hop in the bathtub. So.
Yeah, this is the one where I wrote basically on nothing except for
Riverdale. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that one. My favorite show ever.
Are you wearing a headscarf on your wrist?
Yes, I am.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is not a fashion statement. It is a...
Is it like a Survivor buff type headscarf?
A what?
A Survivor buff? Is it a buff?
I don't know what that means.
Is it like kind of an elastic thing that you can put over your head, or?
Okay, so a buff for me is like somebody that casts a spell to give you an increased enhancement whenever you're playing video games. So I don't know what you mean by buff.
My daughter wears scrunchies on her wrist. That's apparently a thing.
It's like the new friendship bracelet.
Scrunchy friends scrunchies.
She has a whole basket of scrunchies, and every morning that's like her thing. She picks out the 3 colors that she's going to take with her that day.
That's so cute.
And the important thing is, everybody says she's great around everybody else. So I guess that's the important thing.
That's the thing. And I've been told by multiple people that, to expect that.
Oh, yes. We have kids we're sure are just absolute horrible people. And then everybody outside of our house is like, they are the sweetest, nicest kids. I'm like,
yeah.
But my mom always told me that's
right.
the important thing. You want them to behave in front of other people.
I kind of want them to respect us, too.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Do, but that's just a natural thing you do as a kid.
I know.
And then you realize when you're an adult how much of an ass you were. That's always
I hope so. How's potty training going with Iris?
Oh, yeah.
We're terrible at it.
Oh, like you feel like you're terrible at it?
Yeah, my husband and I.
So you need to learn how to use the restroom first?
A terrible job.
Oh, doing a terrible job at training her. I thought you meant terrible job at using the restroom.
One of the scariest days of my life was the day when my wife was like, okay, so we're going to go do some stuff and she's just going to wear underwear today. And I was like, oh my God.
I feel like I should do that with my husband to just sort of jar him a little bit because he's real relaxed too. And like last night, she says, I poop. And then he checked and there was nothing. And I said, this is probably her saying she needs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so a couple minutes go by and I'm thinking, you're missing that panic that needs to happen.
Yeah, right.
Really excited. She's in a big girl bed. This weekend, my dad brought over a big girl bed. He built it.
That's a
it's
big
really
day.
cool. Yeah. And then one of our fans pointed out that it looks like the Bolton symbol from
yes, the flayed man.
It looks like the flayed man symbol. So I've already asked my dad to add another piece to it because I can't look at it the same anymore.
Can we please make it an asterisk?
Have you guys heard this website? It's called YouTube. Anyways,
YouTube?
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Okay.
And so you watch a video and then it has suggested videos on the right hand side.
Oh,
or whatever.
That sounds like a cool feature.
Yeah. So we're watching how to draw a rocket ship, and she is looking over at the side of the screen and starts scrolling because I have a touch screen on my laptop. She starts scrolling down and she's like, "Oh, I want to draw a shark."
Oh,
and I was like, "No."
Oh. Although there was an 8-year-old kid that came up to the. Were you there, Aaron, when that kid came up to the CinemaSins table at the Wizard Con and he quoted stuff, right? And just knew everything.
Oh yeah.
So
yep, he was like, I got to meet your college girlfriend.
Oh my gosh! He did not say that.
No, he didn't. Well, welcome to another episode of Behind the Parenting. My wife and I spent a couple hours the other night avoiding going to sleep after I had downloaded all my Facebook information, going through all the old posts of what my kids have said in the past, and I had forgotten 90% of them. My kids were hilarious.
Yes.
I
love those posts.
I think I'm going
kids
to.
Are great, man.
I think I'm going to make a book.
You should.
I think I'm just going to make one of those little self-published books, and then, on one side have what, the little conversation, on the other side have a picture or something, and then give it to them as a gift since they're all getting older or whatever.
That's cool. Before I forget, Aaron, whenever you give your boys that book, maybe do is it a dedication at the front?
Yeah.
Be like, just to remember when you used to be nice to me, or we used to all get along.
Yeah.
Or
I'll just read the very first example that popped up when I searched. All right. This was when Ethan was 8 years old.
Okay.
Dad, can I clip my toenails? Me. No, it's past your bedtime. Ethan. But what if I accidentally murder someone with my toenails? Me. Then I will come visit you in jail. Ethan. Nah, I'm just a kid. I doubt I'll do hard time. I'll probably just look at juvie. Me. Good night, Ethan. Oh, this is a good one, too. I'm sorry. We're going to spend the next 2 hours with me if I don't stop this. I'm just going to give you two more. One that's in front of me and the one that I remember. Me. Ethan, settle down. We're trying to watch TV. Ethan, but I get so excited. Me. Maybe you have ADHD. Ethan, what's that stand for? Me. Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. 30 seconds later. Ethan, Dad, what's ADHD stand for again? I wasn't listening. And then the one I remember was we were watching Biggest Loser, and Justin said something like, wow, that guy's 600 pounds. I don't know how you get to be that big. And Ethan said, yeah, he's corpulent. I said, yes, Ethan, he's very corpulent. And then Ethan looked at me and said, Dad, when you say corpulent, you don't need to use the word very.
Which is very true.
Wow. Wow.
Right? I think he was 7 when he said that. So.
Oh, man. Oh, no, he read another one.
I'm sorry, I accidentally read another one.
One more, and then we have to start the show.
Okay, then we'll start the show. Just one more. I'm so sorry. Fine. Ethan, this is when he was 9. Being a parent must be hard. Me, how do you know? Ethan, I looked into the future and my kids were being bad. Me, what were they doing? Ethan, stealing candy from my snack stash. Me, Ethan, is that something you've been doing? Ethan, Dad, we're not talking about me. We're talking about the future.
That's fun. This is so random, sorry, but catnip was what I was trying to think of 20 minutes ago when I said they're like something to me. But sorry. Just thought I'd throw that out there and share that with you guys. That seemed important at the time. But go ahead.
What's he building in there? Nope.
Or
I believe that's open tab.
I believe it could be open tabs. I believe it's empty tabs is what we call that.